Chapter 1041, Shao as in Shao Qingyuan took it and touched it. It was indeed a comfortable material, even better than what they were wearing. He handed the handkerchief to Yundong. Yundong had helped Shinsidian sell embroidery in the cloth shop in the Prefectural city a few times and had seen a lot of materials, but this, she had never seen it before. Could it be that this material didn't even exist in the Prefectural city? Yundong flipped her hand and found a word embroidered on the corner of the handkerchief, Shao. Shao as in Shao Qingyuan. She frowned slightly. Yundong remembered that the deceased wife of the Tao family was surnamed Shao. As expected, did this handkerchief belong to the Tao family? Yundong was a little disappointed, but she still carefully put away the handkerchief. When Madame Du saw this, she couldn't help but say a few more words. When you were carried back, the clothes you were wearing were very exquisite. One look and you could tell that you were a child from a rich family. Your complexion is also good. Your original family shouldn't have to worry about food and clothes. Yundong thought for a moment and asked, then did Brother Shao have anything else on him? Was he dressed neatly at that time? If old Li had changed Shao Qingyuan and third young Master Tao's clothes in a hurry, their clothes might have been a little messy. It had happened too long ago. Madame Du frowned and thought for a moment before continuing, it's not very messy, but you should know that my father-in-law came back in a hurry with a child. He definitely wasn't too neat. As for whether there's anything else on him, it should be gone. Yundong sighed inwardly. It seemed that there were not many clues. All right, we understand. Thank you for giving us the handkerchief. It's getting late, so we'll go back first. Madame Du opened her mouth, wanting to let them stay a little longer. However, she knew that this was unrealistic, so she nodded. I'll send you out. She opened the door again. There was a table outside. Because Li Dunzi was sitting there, no one dared to eavesdrop openly. However, the people present still pricked up their ears, trying their best to hear what they had said inside. Unfortunately, their voice was so soft that there was no sound at all. Yundong looked around but did not see Eldest Li and his family. It made sense. Ever since the last time they caused a scene, the second and third branches of the Li family felt that the first branch was too vicious and had cut ties. Besides, Li Dunzi had invited Shao Qingyuan over this time. Why would he let the people from the main branch cause trouble for him? Yundong shook her head and walked out of the central room. Qinliang walked over and asked, "You're going back now?" "Yes, it's getting late. I have to go back and prepare." "Prepare?" Qinliang immediately reacted and his eyes lit up. "Is the vaccination starting tomorrow?" "Yes." Shao Qingyuan nodded. "Uncle Qin, you should let everyone know, but this place, yes. The village has already tidied up the ancestral hall. When the time comes, we'll inoculate everyone in the ancestral hall. Our ancestors will bless us." Shao Qingyuan was relieved to hear that. He told Qinliang about other matters before leaving the Li family with Yundong. As soon as he left, the people who were eating stood up and wanted to follow him out. "Why did you leave just like that?" "I wanted to ask about the vaccination." "Did he come back just to attend the wedding banquet? Doesn't it mean we really have to wait 3 months?" Seeing that someone was about to leave, Qinliang hurriedly coughed and said, "Everyone, quieten down. I have something to say." Everyone could not help but turn to look at him. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1042, She's the only one unhappy. Qinliang said. Qingyuan said that our Yongfu village will start the vaccination tomorrow. The venue is over at the ancestral hall. Everyone can queue up tomorrow morning. Everyone was overjoyed when they heard that. "What time is it? Will they really inoculate us?" Qinliang nodded. "Tomorrow at 5 o'clock. After a pause, he continued, "I know that everyone has children and relatives in other villages. They also want to be vaccinated early. However, there's a limit to manpower. They have to keep a close eye on our village first, so don't tell the people from other villages to come over for the time being. Even if they come, they definitely won't be able to be registered. Everyone was a little disappointed when they heard that, but on second thought, it made sense. There were still hundreds of people in their village, and Shao Qingyuan had to return to the prefectural city. If people from other villages or even county towns came, the local villagers would have to queue at the back. Qinliang continued, "There's one more thing I have to make clear to everyone. Qingyuan is alone. He can't inoculate everyone. Therefore, Dr. Xiong and the others are going to do it." They were all personally taught by Qingyuan. Someone was immediately dissatisfied. Why can't he do it himself? If something happens to us, Qinliang suddenly looked at that person and his voice turned cold. Then tell me, who is he going to inoculate? You? Or me? We've already been inoculated. Won't the others have to let him come? Can he handle it alone? Even in the prefectural city, he let those doctors inoculate the commoners. Why is it that when he comes to our Yongfu village, he has to work hard? This inoculation doesn't cost a single cent. If you're unwilling, go to the county city and queue up. You're pushing your luck. The person immediately shrunk his neck and did not dare to make a sound. The others naturally did not dare to say anything else. On second thought, Qinliang was right. In the past, Shao Qingyuan would have ignored them. Not only did he come back personally, but he also stayed in Yongfu village for a few more days. With him around, they felt much more at ease. Seeing that there was no dissent, Qinliang heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. After you're done with the wedding banquet, tell the neighbors who didn't come to eat next door to come to the ancestral hall tomorrow morning. Do you hear me? Got it, village chief. After receiving the accurate news, everyone was relieved and finally began to enjoy the wine, meat, and dishes in peace. The only unhappy one was probably Shao, the bride who had finished listening to the entire process in the new room. Were these two crazy? They came to show off on their wedding day. Now, as soon as they left, these people went back to rest early after the wedding banquet. They didn't even make a fuss in the bridal chamber. Her marriage was not lively at all. However, she was the only one who was dissatisfied with the Li family's second branch. The others felt that it was quite good. Thinking that they were going to be vaccinated tomorrow, they all rested early. Therefore, early the next morning, when Shao was about to get up and serve tea to her in-laws, there was no one at home. Everyone had run to the ancestral hall early to wait. The sky had just lit up, but the entrance of the ancestral hall was already filled with people. Yundong and Shao Qingyuan were not in a hurry. Although they woke up early, they sat in the reception hall and finished their breakfast. Then, they went to Yunshu's room to see him and Yuanji. They had gone to the Li family late yesterday. Firstly, they really wanted to wait for the Li family to finish paying their respects. Secondly, they wanted to inoculate Yunshu and Yuanji first. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1043, Untrusted Ah Zhu. Yundong had already applied for leave for Yunshu and the rest. They might not be able to go to school for the next few days. However, Qin Wenjing was not in the school now. There were a few students in the school who had already lined up at the county office. After the vaccination, they rested at home. Therefore, even if Yunshu and the others went to school, most of the students were only learning on their own. The two little guys were still asleep and seemed to be in good condition. Yundong was slightly relieved and quietly left the room. Then, the two of them walked towards the ancestral hall. Qinliang had already opened the door to the ancestral hall. The first to enter were Ah Zhu, Dr. Xiong, and the old doctor from the county medicine shop. The three of them were the ones who would inoculate the locals of Yongfu village. As soon as they entered, the villagers began to line up under Qinliang's arrangements. However, these people were in dispute as to whose side they should be on. Most of them wanted to line up with Dr. Xiong. After all, Ah Zhu was just a servant in their eyes. He was also young, so how could he know about vaccination? Although the old doctor had already vaccinated a lot of people in the county city, he could not compare to Dr. Xiong, who had come from the prefectural city. However, Dr. Xiong had a bad temper. When he saw the long line in front of him, he immediately slammed the table and glared. "Why are you all lined up here? Are you trying to tire me out?" The people at the back of the line trembled. Their gazes were a little erratic and afraid. Some people quietly moved to the old doctor's side. Unexpectedly, when they looked up, the Zhang family, Qingyuan's family, and the He family at the front were lined up on Ah Zhu's side. The Zhang and Qin families had a good relationship with Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan. The He family was also a shrewd family. When Gu Yundong was building the road previously, they had changed their home base at the foot of the mountain with the village. Their three families actually went to Ah Zhu's side. Could it be that he was the one with the best skills among the three of them? Everyone was bewildered. Some people could not help but go over. However, some people were still determined to stand on Dr. Xiong's side. However, this way, the number of people in the team in front of the three of them was about right. Tong Ping had also come over to help early in the morning. He had sent everyone a note with words written on it. "There are too many people. It's difficult to wait here. Everyone, take this note. You can come back when your name is called. There's no need to wait here. It's fine to go out for a walk and come back later." Everyone held the note in their hands, but no one moved. Although he said that, what if they missed it? Besides, it was just waiting. It was not like they had not waited before. It did not matter. Therefore, even though the queue had already reached the outside of the ancestral hall, no one moved. At most, they would sit on the ground when they were tired of standing. As for food, there were also people at home who had survived smallpox when they were young. They did not need to be vaccinated, so they could help take care of it. Shao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong were the last to arrive. When they entered, they saw such a lively scene. When the villagers saw him, they immediately stood up and greeted, "Qingyuan, you're here. Hurry up and go in. It's already started inside." Shao Qingyuan nodded and led Gu Yundong into the ancestral hall. The moment the people inside saw him, their hearts instantly calmed down. Gu Yundong whispered, "See that? Your role is to calm everyone down." Shao Qingyuan asked, "When are we leaving? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1044, Ah Zhu and the others changed their names. Gu Yundong looked up at the sky and replied, "About an hour." The news that they had returned to Yongfu village and were vaccinating the villagers today had probably spread. It was fine if the people from the neighboring village found out. With Chen Liang around, no one would make a fuss and insist that Shao Qingyuan vaccinate them. However, that might not be the case for the people in the county. There were many powerful people. They had probably sent people to find out the news of Yongfu village at any time. Shao Qingyuan had appeared in the Li family yesterday and announced the news a little late. Even if the servants sent to find out the news wanted to return to the city to report, the city gate would be closed. They could only wait for the city gate to open this morning before informing their masters. Therefore, even if the people from the county wanted to come to Yongfu village, it would probably take at least an hour. Therefore, Shao Qingyuan and the others were still in the mood to watch Ah Zhu and the others receive the vaccination. Ah Zhu was indeed skilled and was inoculating the He family. He Shanchuan stood beside his wife. When he saw Ah Zhu holding the dagger, he was immediately a little nervous. "Dr. Ah Zhu, my wife is afraid of pain." Later, "Ah Zhu, Dr. Ah Zhu." He raised his head with a serious expression and said proudly, "My name is Shao Quan now. You can call me Dr. Shao." He Shanchuan nodded repeatedly. "All right, Dr. Shao." Ah Zhu was instantly delighted. He was Dr. Shao. How nice was that? Someone beside him asked curiously, "Why are you called Shao Quan?" "Not only am I called Shao Quan, but we've all changed our names. The four of us will be one, Wu, Shuang and Quan, one, fully capable of literal and martial arts. Remember, don't call me the wrong name next time. Yundong silently covered her face. Look at how smug you are. The four of them had come up with the names themselves. A few days ago, after Shao Qingyuan and Ah Mao came out of the Million Gold Pavilion, the first thing Ah Go and the others did was talk about changing their names. They originally wanted to call themselves Zhong, Shao, Ren and Yi1, but Dai Zhong, Dai Yi, and the rest of Dai Wenwo's subordinates had got those names. Therefore, after a few days of careful deliberation and racking his brains, he finally thought of the words Wen Wushuang Quan. They felt that these words were especially good, especially impressive, and suited Shao Qingyuan's image. Yundong was speechless for a long time. Alright, as long as you're happy. However, Yundong and the others were already used to calling Ah Zhu, so they could not change it for a while. Ah Zhu patiently reminded them, as if he liked this new name very much. When the people beside them heard that Ah Zhu and the others had changed their names, they said regretfully, "Why did you change your names? Ah Zhu and Ah Shu are so nice to listen to. They're easy to remember and have special characteristics. We country bumpkins like to take cheap names. It's easy to raise them." Ah Zhu, no, I want to be called Shao Quan, Shao Quan. Remember. Yundong and Shao Qingyuan looked at each other and laughed. The cowpox vaccination went very smoothly. After it was done, Shao Qingyuan told them some things to take note of and asked them to go back and rest. After saying it a few more times, everyone remembered it. Fortunately, it was not time for farming yet. 2 days of rest could still be spared. An hour later, someone ran over in a hurry and said loudly, "Oh no, there are a few carriages at the entrance of our village. They seem to be from the county. Are they here to look for Shao Qingyuan and take him away? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1045. Go hide. The villagers in the ancestral hall were shocked. They're really here? Why are they here so quickly? Someone reacted quickly and said to Shao Qingyuan, "Qingyuan, quickly hide." Yes, yes, yes. Go and hide. If they come and can't find you, they will definitely go back. Well, say that you've already left and returned to the prefectural city. Everyone was talking at once and coming up with ideas. They were worried that Shao Qingyuan would be taken away by those powerful people from the county. Without this man supervising the situation, they could not help but panic. Shao Qingyuan and Yundong looked at each other. It was as they had expected it. Qinliang also came over to persuade them. Stay away for now. Don't worry, they're here for you. If they can't see you, they can't do anything. Alright, I'll leave this to Uncle Chen. Shao Qingyuan nodded at Ah Zhu and left the ancestral hall with Yundong. The people from the county city came from the main road in carriages, but Shao Qingyuan and the others left through the center of the village. When they arrived at the entrance of the village, they saw Father Tong waiting there with the carriage. As soon as the two of them got into the carriage, they bypassed the main road and took a small path to the county city. Not long after they left, those carriages stopped at the foot of the mountain. When they heard that everyone in the village was at the ancestral hall, they quickly walked towards it. However, when they all arrived, they only saw a few doctors inoculating the villagers. Shao Qingyuan was not around at all. Not only was he not around, but someone also ran over and said that they had just left from another path. Everyone cursed in unison and looked at the people from Yongfu village. After leaving a few people to continue keeping an eye on the situation, they left angrily. The villagers were speechless. They were all prepared to argue and chase them away with hoes and shovels. In the end, they left. There was no sense of accomplishment. Why didn't they persevere? Wasn't there any sincerity? However, after they left, Qinliang heaved a sigh of relief and continued to organize everyone for the vaccination. The Li family's eldest branch came at this time. Ever since they found out that Shao Qingyuan had seen the emperor and made a great contribution, they had been extremely nervous. They wanted to go to the county city to queue for registration, but they were late. The county office's documents said that they would have to wait at least until 6 months later. 6 months later? How could that be? Therefore, even though they were extremely afraid, it was rare for the village to start cowpox vaccination. They had been holed up at home for half a day. When they heard that Shao Qingyuan had left, they finally braced themselves and came out. They looked at the villagers in front of them who were being vaccinated. There were a total of 3 teams. They definitely did not dare to line up with Ah Zhu's team. If he did anything during the vaccination, their family might lose their lives. Dr. Xiong had a bad temper, so it wouldn't do either. Therefore, in the end, the Li family's eldest branch was lined up with the old doctor. The villager in front of them immediately frowned. This person happened to be at odds with the Li family's eldest branch. He immediately mocked, "You still have the cheek to come. Why? Do you think no one knows that you've persecuted him in the past when Qingyuan isn't around? None of your business. Hey, you want to fight?" Seeing that the two of them were about to fight, Chen Liang heard the commotion and rushed over. When he saw the Li family, he could not help but frown. Disgust flashed across his face. "Alright, stop arguing. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1046. This troublesome Chen Liang did not chase them away. He was the village chief and the entire village had to be vaccinated. It was impossible for him to leave them behind. Besides, it wouldn't be good for Shao Qingyuan if word got out. What if someone in the Li family got smallpox? What would outsiders think of Shao Qingyuan? They would say that he was the one who invented the cowpox vaccination method, but in the end, someone in his village died from this illness? It was just vaccination. There was nothing to do with it. If you want the vaccination, be quiet. If anything happens, you'll be the ones to suffer. The people from the Li family's main branch immediately did not dare to speak. They could only line up resentfully and endure the pointing fingers of the other villagers. The subsequent inoculations went very smoothly. Even though the people from the neighboring village came after hearing the news, they knew that it was impossible for them to cut in line. They could only be envious. At that moment, Yundong and Shao Qingyuan had already arrived at Fengkai County. As soon as the two of them arrived at the county city, they went straight to the Liu residence. Luan was already waiting at the entrance. When he saw them, he immediately welcomed them. "Young Master Shao, Miss Gu, you're finally here. Our young master has been waiting for you at the door." With that, he welcomed the two of them inside. As soon as they turned around the courtyard, Liu Wei, who had heard the commotion, ran over and suddenly stopped in front of them. Then, with a bright smile on his face, he reached out and patted Shao Qingyuan's shoulder. "Brother, you're very promising now. I'm proud to have a brother like you. I'm especially proud. I'm extremely proud." As he spoke, he patted Shao Qingyuan's shoulder hard. However, it didn't look like he was proud. Instead, it looked like he wanted to slap Shao Qingyuan into the ground. Shao Qingyuan frowned and tilted his body slightly to avoid the third slap. Liu Wei could not stop in time and fell straight forward. Fortunately, Luan reacted very quickly. "Young master, be careful." He barely caught her. After Liu Wei steadied himself, he turned around and was about to be displeased when he met Yundong's angry eyes. "Do you have a deep hatred for my brother Shao? You're so strong that you're about to slap a piece of flesh off my shoulder." Liu Wei immediately shrunk his neck guiltily, but he still refuted firmly, "Nonsense, I'm expressing my admiration for brother Shao. It's unstoppable. Besides, I'm afraid that my brother Shao won't believe such an important matter. That's why I patted him awake and told him that this isn't a dream. This is real. It's worth being happy and excited. Don't try to sow discord between me and brother Shao." Yundong was speechless. If you had kept that jealous, resentful expression on your face when you said this, it might have been more convincing. "Actor Liu, your acting skills have deteriorated." As he spoke, Old Master Liu also walked out with a smile. Young Shao, Gu girl, you're here. This time, you've caused quite a commotion. Not bad, not bad. I knew that you would definitely have a great future. Unlike our family's wastrel, who only knows how to eat, drink, and have fun. It's fine if he can't inherit the business, but he just has to be disobedient. What a troublesome thing. Gu Yundong glanced at Liu Wei. She finally understood why Liu Wei was so resentful towards brother Shao. Old Master Liu, if you want to educate your son, then educate your son. Don't compare him to someone else. As expected, as soon as Old Master Liu finished speaking, Liu Wei walked forward angrily. Old Master Liu snorted. You still have the cheek to lose your temper. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1047, Liu Wei Is Engaged. The group of them entered the central room. Liu Yi bowed obediently and was especially polite. Gu Yundong was silent for a moment. Then, she looked at Liu Wei, who was sitting at the side and eating an apple. This guy was indeed a troublesome thing. Shao Qingyuan didn't even look at him. He said to Old Master Liu, let's begin. He came here today to inoculate the Liu family. Liu Wei had smallpox when he was young, so there was no need to take it. However, Liu Yi still needed it, and so did the others in the Liu residence. Seeing that he didn't even drink the tea, Old Master Liu hurriedly said, you just came. You should rest for a while. No, let's do it now. We still have to go back early. Alright, follow me. The room is ready. Old Master Liu brought the few of them to the hall at the back. Shao Qingyuan was holding a medical box in his hand. Liu Wei looked at it and clicked his tongue. He truly looks like a doctor. Gu Yundong glanced at him. Liu Wei immediately went to her side and said, look, brother Shao used to be a hunter, then a merchant. Now he's actually a doctor. What do you think he will be in the future? Whatever he will be, it's better than a prodigal son like you. Liu Wei was speechless. Could they still be friends? Didn't he just pat Shao Qingyuan's shoulder twice? A woman who bore grudges. They should be cut off from each other. Shao Qingyuan inoculated Liu Yi, and the others didn't need to wait in the room. They were outside. Old Master Liu took the opportunity to ask Gu Yundong, last time, your father got the county championship. I originally wanted to go to your house to congratulate you, but you went straight to the prefectural city. The prefectural examination is about to begin. Are you confident in getting the prefectural championship? Gu Yundong coughed lightly. Well, I don't know either. It's not important whether he can get the championship or not. My father missed the imperial examination back then. Now, we can treat it as fulfilling a dream. We don't want to give him too much pressure. His happiness is the most important. He'll naturally be happy if he can get the championship. If he doesn't get in, treat it as training. Old Master Liu was stunned. He had never heard of such a thing. However, on second thought, it made sense. Although the Gu family was still poor, Gu Yundong had refined white sugar and given the imperial court such great benefits. It was said that the emperor had sold the white sugar to other countries and earned a lot of money. The national treasury was full. With this contribution, if she had the heart, she could even get the emperor to reward her with a county lord position. Furthermore, Shao Qingyuan had developed a medical procedure for the vaccination of smallpox. It was also a huge matter that benefited the country and the people. Just these two things alone made the Shao family and the Gu family look good in front of the emperor. If Gu Dajiang were to get into the capital in the future, regardless of his ranking, he would attract the attention of high-ranking officials and nobles. When Old Master Liu thought of this, he stopped asking about this matter and thought about her marriage with Shao Qingyuan. Isn't it time to put your wedding on the agenda? After my father finishes the examination. Gu Yundong was still a little embarrassed. Old Master Liu was overjoyed. Then it will be soon. In that case, I should prepare a big gift now. It's good, at least it's faster than our Liu Wei. Gu Yundong was about to nod, but then she was stunned. What he meant was, she suddenly looked at Liu Wei, who was eavesdropping on their conversation. You're engaged. When did this happen? Why didn't she know? Wasn't he hiding in the prefectural city to avoid old Master Liu's blind date? Now, he finally surrendered? Old Master Liu laughed. Yes, it's finally settled. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1048. Let Gu Yundong accompany me. Gu Yundong was about to ask which family it was when he saw a servant coming to look for Old Master Liu. Old Master Liu could only instruct Liu Wei to entertain Gu Yundong before he left in a hurry. Only the two of them were left in the central room. Gu Yundong suddenly looked at him with a burning gaze. Liu Wei felt uncomfortable under her stare. After a long while, he waved his hand and said, all right, I'll tell you. I'm indeed engaged. It happened a month ago. My father set it up for me. Which girl? Miss Zhang. Liu Wei was very dissatisfied. I don't know what medicine my father took, but he insisted on finding me a fierce wife. You don't know, but that Miss Zhang is especially fierce. I'm afraid of her. Gu Yundong was speechless. There was nothing she could do about this. Liu Wei looked like he had nothing left to live for. My father doesn't listen to me at all. He insists that I'm jumpy and that I have to find a wife who can control me. Then how can I live in the future? Gu Yundong wanted to laugh, but she tried her best to restrain herself. Forget it. He was already in such a miserable state. It was not good to laugh at him. However, they were still friends, so she asked a few more questions. Have you seen Miss Zhang? Do you have any feelings for her? I've seen her. She looks all right, but she's fierce and domineering. I don't like this at all. Gu Yundong frowned. But this was how it was like for a man and a woman to get married these days. Since they were already engaged, it meant that Old Master Liu had made up his mind. However, for Old Master Liu to take a fancy to her, that girl must have something outstanding that he admired. However, Liu Wei was very against this Miss Zhang now. Then, just as Gu Yundong was thinking about it, Old Master Liu rushed back. Unexpectedly, the first thing he said when he returned was to Liu Wei. A servant came to the Zhang family and said that they had obtained a wild deer. Young Master Zhang has held a banquet and invited you to join in the fun. What's there to hold a banquet for? I don't even want to eat anymore. I'm not going. Liu Wei refused without hesitation. Old Master Liu was furious. Who asked you to eat deer? I asked you to meet Miss Zhang. All the more reason for me not to go. I don't like her. Old Master Liu looked around, looking like he was looking for a stick. Seeing this, Liu Wei hurriedly jumped up and hid behind Gu Yundong. Father, you, don't be rash. You're really an idiot. If you don't like her, you should meet her even more often. Wouldn't you like her if you talked to her more often? Let me tell you, I'm already tolerant enough of you. I even let the two of you cultivate your relationship before marriage. Don't be ungrateful. As he spoke, Old Master Liu's breathing began to quicken. His face turned red, and he looked like he was about to faint. Liu Wei panicked and quickly said, Okay. I'll go, all right? However, he made a request. Let Gu Yundong accompany me. Gu Yundong, no, I'm not here. You can't see me. Old Master Liu frowned. Liu Wei said anxiously, Father, didn't you say that she has good taste? Then let her go to the Zhang family with me and see if that Miss Zhang is good. If she agrees, I'll marry her and won't make a fuss in the future, okay? Gu Yundong? What does it have to do with me? Am I wrong to have good taste? I'm just a bystander. Liu Wei, you fool. Can't you tell that your father is acting? However, Old Master Liu's eyes lit up. He nodded and said, All right. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1049. It's too difficult. What's alright? Did you ask for my opinion? Do you think I don't exist? Gu Yundong smiled. I don't think it's appropriate. I'm an unmarried woman. If I follow Liu Wei to the Zhang family to look for Miss Zhang, others will think that I have something to do with Liu Wei. If Miss Zhang misunderstands something and thinks that I deliberately came to provoke her, wouldn't I have done something bad out of kindness? Unexpectedly, Old Master Liu waved his hand and said, It's fine. I'll let Yenner accompany you. When the time comes, just say that you're Yenner's friend and Yenner brought you there. Liu Yen was Liu Wei's elder sister. Gu Yundong had met her before. She was a good person. Probably because she was the eldest child of the Liu family, she was decisive and completely different from Liu Wei. Gu Yundong sometimes felt that it was probably because he had such an elder sister that Liu Wei was pampered to the point of being heartless and silly. But even if there was Liu Yen, Gu Yundong did not want to go. Her expression was serious as she rejected him firmly. I don't think it's appropriate. What if Miss Wan Zhang doesn't believe me? Besides, I still have to wait for Brother Shao. Before she could finish speaking, Old Master Liu clutched his chest and looked like he was about to die. Gu Yundong's lips twitched. Uncle Liu. I'm not a fool like Liu Wei. You said that I have good taste. Can't I tell that you're acting? Liu Wei supported Old Master Liu. Father, are you all right? Don't worry, Gu girl is kind-hearted. She will agree. Don't faint. Gu Yundong was speechless. She wanted to ask Shao Qingyuan to leave and not care about the Liu family. Old Master Liu panted heavily and said with great effort, Yundong, you're Liu Wei's friend. Can you bear to see his marriage not go well and that he and his wife won't be able to grow old together? I can bear to. As long as you go and take a look, Liu Wei will wait for the wedding in peace. You know his temper. What if he suddenly runs away on the day of the wedding? Then, my Liu family and the Zhang family will become enemies. Now, as long as you go and take a look and know that Miss Zhang is a good person, Liu Wei won't be so unhappy. I'll leave it to you. I'm already so old. It's too difficult for me to have a grandson. Just do me a small favor on account of uncle taking care of you. Gu Yundong looked up at the sky and sighed in his heart. He really owed them. Since Old Master Liu had said so, her conscience would hurt to death if she did not go. Okay, I'll go, okay? Old Master Liu immediately stood up and nodded with a serious expression. Thank you. Gu Yundong was already numb when she saw how energetic he was. Old Master Liu then turned to Liu Wei and said, when you pass by the Sun family later, pick up your sister and go to the Zhang family together. The Sun family was the family that Liu Yan's husband belonged to. Liu Wei nodded. I understand, father. Gu Yundong rubbed her temples and entered the house to inform Shao Qingyuan. Shao Qingyuan was silent for a moment. All right, it's boring for you to wait outside. Just go take a look. Wait for me to come back. Okay. Gu Yundong walked out of the door again. Liu Wei was ready. The two of them got into the carriage outside. Since they were going to pick Liu Yan up, the carriage had to take a detour. Along the way, Gu Yundong did not want to talk to Liu Wei. The latter did not care. However, when they passed by Jinxiu restaurant, Liu Wei suddenly exclaimed, Eh? If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1050, the third young master of the Tao family, Tao Yen. Gu Yundong glanced at him and pretended not to hear him. Don't think that I don't know that he deliberately made a sound to attract my attention. However, she didn't expect that Liu Wei didn't look at her and asked curiously, why are they together? Gu Yundong lifted the curtain and looked out. She happened to see two people about to enter Jinxiu restaurant. She didn't know one of them. But wasn't the other Peng Zhongfei? It had been a long time since he had seen this person. He looked like he had been doing well recently and was glowing. Gu Yundong asked casually, do you know the person beside Peng Zhongfei? Liu Wei nodded. Yes, he's the third young master that the Tao family found at the end of last year. Yundong froze. Who are you talking about? Third young master Tao Yen. Yundong suddenly shouted, "Stop the carriage." This sound was urgent and sharp. Luan, who was driving the carriage outside, hurriedly pulled the reins. Because of inertia, Liu Wei couldn't sit properly and almost fell out of the carriage. He rubbed his aching head and asked angrily, "What are you doing? You're so shocked." However, Yundong said to him, "Go to the Zhang family yourself. I have something on, so I won't be going for now." After saying that, she didn't care about Liu Wei's reaction and directly jumped off the carriage. Liu Wei was stunned and hurriedly got off the carriage. When he looked up, he saw Yundong rushing towards Jinxiu restaurant. He hurriedly asked Luan to drive the carriage to the side to rest, then quickly caught up with Yundong. The two of them entered Jinxiu restaurant one after another. Liu Wei had just caught up with her and happened to hear her asking the shopkeeper, "Which room are young Master Peng and young Master Tao in?" The shopkeeper was stunned. He naturally knew Yundong, but, fortunately, Liu Wei came over immediately. "Hurry up and tell her, which room are they in?" The shopkeeper immediately replied, "In the bamboo room." "Thank you," Yundong said and quickly walked upstairs. After going up 2 flights of stairs, she saw that Liu Wei had also come over. She immediately frowned and said, "Why are you following me? I have something urgent to do. You can go to the Zhang family first. As for seeing Miss Zhang, you can wait for an opportunity next time." "Hey, the Zhang family's matter is not urgent. What are you busy with?" Liu Wei was excited. "Is it related to Peng Zhongfei and Tao Yen? I'll help you. I can beat or trick anyone." As he spoke, he even started to roll up his sleeves. Yundong's mouth twitched. "No, I just have something to ask. Hurry up and leave." Liu Wei raised his neck and refused resolutely. "I promised father that we would go out and return together. How can I leave you here alone? If it weren't for the glow of gossip on your face, would have believed your righteousness." Yundong had no choice. She could not be bothered to argue with him and simply let him be. She turned around and walked upstairs again. Liu Wei was satisfied. He walked quickly and even led the way. "The bamboo room is over here. Please." When he reached the door, he raised his hand and knocked. Peng Zhongfei's voice came from inside. "Who is it?" "Me." Liu Wei's voice was very recognizable. Peng Zhongfei immediately recognized it. He immediately smiled and opened the door. "Young Master Liu, it's been a long time. Come in, come in." "It's just nice." Halfway through his sentence, he saw Yundong standing behind Liu Wei. The smile on Peng Zhongfei's face froze instantly. He looked at her in disbelief. You, if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1051, Almost a Ghost. Yundong was very unhappy. Why did he look as if he had seen a ghost? Wasn't she beautiful? Wasn't she at the prime of her youth? What a bad taste. Peng Zhongfei quickly composed himself and looked at Yundong with a dry smile. "Miss Gu, so it's you." He smiled brightly on the surface, but he was crying inside. Every time he saw Yundong, he would be unlucky. It was not easy for him to recover. Over the past year, his family had not been in much trouble. His days were colorful, but she suddenly appeared. He felt like something was going to happen again. Peng Zhongfei looked at Liu Wei with dissatisfaction and asked angrily, "What are you doing here?" "Liu Wei, hey, why did your expression change so quickly? Wasn't he just inviting me in to eat, drink, and be lively? What the hell?" The three of them were staring at each other outside the door when Tao Yen, who had been waiting in the room, walked out. He naturally knew Liu Wei and immediately greeted him. "So it's young Master Liu. Are you also here to eat?" It's rare to meet you. Do you want to eat together? But in the blink of an eye, he saw Gu Yundong and immediately felt a little embarrassed. He did not know Gu Yundong. When he saw her standing with Liu Wei, he thought that she was his relative or cousin. If it was a family gathering, it would be difficult for him to invite them. However, Liu Wei didn't feel embarrassed. He immediately pushed Peng Zhongfei away. Okay. But let me make it clear first. Although this is my restaurant, you have to treat us to this meal. Peng Zhongfei's mouth twitched and he looked at Gu Yundong. The latter also walked in very naturally without even being polite. Peng Zhongfei only felt a toothache. He could only sigh secretly and turn around to close the door of the room. There was only one pot of tea on the table in the room. Perhaps it was because Gu Yundong and the others had arrived quickly that Peng Zhongfei and the rest did not have time to order the dishes. Tao Yan was stunned, especially when he saw Gu Yundong enter. It was Liu Wei who introduced them. This is Gu Yundong, my sister. Gu Yundong glanced at him. You really know how to take advantage of others. Tao Yan's eyes widened in surprise when he heard Gu Yundong's name. This was that girl from the Gu family. He quickly cupped his hands and said, I've heard a lot about you, but I haven't had the chance to meet you. I didn't expect to meet you today. This was the first time Gu Yundong had seen Tao Yan. This person was a little short, at least shorter than the other two young masters of the Tao family. However, this guy's appearance was the one that resembled Master Tao the most. At a rough glance, they were at least 50 to 60% similar. He seemed to have a good personality. Moreover, he had just been recognized by the Tao family not long ago, but he could become friends with a famous profligate's son like Peng Zhongfei, who looked down on others and thought that he was the best playboy in the county city. He was quite thoughtful to drink tea and eat calmly. Seeing her, Tao Yan's attitude was also very respectful and polite. He didn't ignore her just because she was a woman. Just a glance was enough to make people have a good impression of him. Gu Yundong smiled and nodded. I didn't expect third young Master Tao to know about me. It's my honor. Miss Gu is too humble. Previously, after I was recognized by the Tao family, there was a welcome banquet at home. My elder brother even said that he would invite young Master Shao and Miss Gu over. I didn't expect the two of you to not be in the county city. That's why I didn't have the privilege to see you. Gu Yundong was surprised, but seeing that he was not afraid to mention his background, it was convenient for her. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1052, How did you find her? Then I can only congratulate third young Master Tao for acknowledging his ancestors and reuniting the family. Gu Yundong held a cup of tea and toasted him. Tao Yan quickly picked up his teacup and drank it. Thank you. Speaking of which, third young master has come to the end of his suffering. His good days are all in the future. Gu Yundong pretended to speak casually. By the way, did you catch the human trafficker who took third young master away? In my opinion, such a person is the most detestable. He specializes in doing such heartless things. He destroys other people's lives and families. I hate such people the most. Previously, I encountered a human trafficker who carried a child away in broad daylight. If that person was not sneaky and I hadn't stopped him on the spot when I realized that something was wrong, the child's family would probably be heartbroken. The Tao family announced to the public that Tao Yan had been kidnapped when he was young. Although many people knew that this was not the case and Gu Yundong also knew the inside story, she still had to pretend. She had an indignant expression on her face. Tao Yan didn't think much of it and only said, "How can I catch him? After that human trafficker sold me, I don't know where he went." When Gu Yundong heard this, she sighed regretfully. Then, she asked curiously, "Then how did third young master know about your background back then? I heard that you were only about a year old when you were taken away." Coincidentally, when I was in my teens, I accidentally heard my adoptive parents arguing. Only then did I know that I wasn't their biological son. No wonder they weren't friendly to me and beat and scolded me as if we were enemies. However, I also knew that if I asked them directly, they definitely wouldn't tell me, so I secretly investigated. Yundong's interest was immediately piqued. How did you investigate? Could it be that there were some clues back then? Yes, when they were arguing back then, I heard them say that the clothes I was wearing seemed to be made of good material and were not cheap, so they took the clothes directly to the pawn shop. Although there were not many clues, there were at least some. I followed this lead and searched for a long time before I finally found that pawn shop. Fortunately, the clothes were worn by children and no one had bought them. In the end, the pawn shop owner treated it as doing a good deed and donated them to the charity hall. I found the clothes at the charity hall. The charity hall was filled with homeless orphans. Tao Yan's clothes were good, so the charity hall naturally took good care of them. This allowed Tao Yan's search to go further. If the pawn shop had sold it to anyone else, they would have worn it and thrown it away. Yundong was secretly shocked. According to Tao Yan, when he was carried away, he was wearing the clothes of the Tao family. There was no need to change clothes with Shao Qingyuan. The Tao family changed the story of Tao Yan being abandoned to being trafficked because the Tao family wanted to cover up the scandal. There was no need for Tao Yan to lie when he said that he had found the Tao family. Yundong felt that her and Shao Qingyuan's thoughts might have been too complicated from the beginning. Perhaps Old Li had nothing to do with the third young master of the Tao family being taken away. Perhaps he only knew the inside story of the third young master of the Tao family being abandoned and directly pushed this matter to Shao Qingyuan. Yes, that must be it. Before he died, he tricked Shao Qingyuan again and deliberately said this to confuse him so that he could not find his real family. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1053, The Handkerchief is Shao Qingyuan's. The more Yundong thought about it, the clearer the clues in her mind became. If things went back to the beginning and all the clues related to the Tao family were removed, then, the only thing that could prove Shao Qingyuan's background might be the handkerchief that Li Dunzi and his wife had hidden. The handkerchief belonged to Shao Qingyuan, and it was given to him by his family. But why did Old Li do this? It could only mean that he had a grudge against Shao Qingyuan, or against Shao Qingyuan's family. Yundong's eyes grew brighter and brighter. They could start from there. At this moment, her mood suddenly brightened. I was lucky. When I found half of it, Big Brother happened to be looking for me. Tao Yan continued, only then did I know my background. After confirming it, I returned to the Tao family. Yundong came back to her senses and nodded. Third young master, good things come after hardships. You will definitely have good fortune in the future. Ha ha ha, thank you for your nice words. Tao Yan smiled. My brother is indeed very good to me. Yundong raised her eyebrows. Yes, only your brother treats you well. The others don't look too good. The corners of Peng Zhongfei's mouth twitched. He wanted to speak, but the two of them had been talking back and forth since they sat down. He couldn't even find a chance to interrupt. Wasn't this the first time the two of them met? How could they have so much to talk about? He endured it and then glanced at Liu Wei. He did not expect this kid to be drinking tea rather enjoyably. Was there a mistake? Even if this was the best tea in Jinxiu restaurant, there was no need for this guy to be like this, right? This is your restaurant. How dare you take advantage of me when you want to drink high-quality tea? Intolerable. Peng Zhongfei raised his leg under the table and kicked him hard. Pfft. Cough, cough. Liu Wei was careless and the tea directly poured into his nose. He instantly exploded. Why did you kick me? Peng Zhongfei was speechless. He had used too much strength. He touched his nose guiltily and met the gazes of the other two. He said, I heard them chatting. When I got excited, I bumped into you. Why are you so excited? You're wasting my tea. So your point is this? Yundong looked at Peng Zhongfei with a faint smile. It's my fault. I was too curious about third young master's strange background, so I asked a few more questions. By the way, it's rare to meet young Master Peng. I happen to have something to ask you for help with. Peng Zhongfei widened his eyes. What do you need my help with? He was so nervous that he stuttered. Why did she need his help? The first 2 times she had looked for him, something had happened to him. Could she not look for him this time? Peng Zhongfei was filled with regret. If he had known earlier, he would not have kicked so hard. Wouldn't it have been better to be a quiet quail? If Liu Wei wanted to drink tea, he could drink tea. It was not much money. Now, Yundong had finally noticed him. Peng Zhongfei was extremely bitter in his heart, but in front of his 2 friends, he still controlled his facial expression very firmly and said seriously, "What help? Tell me. No matter what, we're friends. It'll definitely help if I can. But you know that my ability is limited. I'm just a young master who eats and drinks. Don't blame me if I can't help you." Yundong was speechless. Am I that scary? I won't let you climb a mountain of swords or go through a sea of fire. She shook her head and took out the handkerchief embroidered with words from her sleeve. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1054, The Origin of the Handkerchief. Ever since he took the handkerchief from Madame Du, Shao Qingyuan had handed it to her. Yundong had always kept important things in her space. The handkerchief was taken out of her space with the help of her sleeve. She handed it to Peng Zhongfei directly. Young Master Peng, your family runs a cloth shop, so you must be very familiar with fabric. Coincidentally, I just got a piece of fabric not long ago. I think this material is very good and feels very comfortable to touch. I want to ask young Master Peng, do you sell this material in your cloth shop? Peng Zhongfei secretly heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that. Luckily, it wasn't a big favor. Although he was a profligate's son, he still had to manage his own business. Familiarizing himself with fabric was the most basic common sense. Therefore, Peng Zhongfei took the handkerchief confidently. Let me see. When he touched it, he felt that the material was indeed not bad. But, Peng Zhongfei frowned and looked at it carefully. Then, his face turned red. Yundong asked, Young Master Peng, do you know it? Don't be hasty. I haven't checked it carefully. Peng Zhongfei coughed lightly. He stood up and walked to the window. He looked at the light outside carefully twice. No one knew if he had figured it out or not, but he quickly sat back at the table and rubbed the handkerchief with both hands. Yundong was speechless. Hey. Fortunately, he only rubbed it twice. However, Peng Zhongfei used his nails to scratch it twice. Yundong could not take it anymore. She suddenly stood up, pulled his hand away, and retracted the handkerchief. She looked at it like it was a treasure. Thankfully, it wasn't broken, but there were traces. Yundong looked at Peng Zhongfei angrily. Do you recognize it or not? If you don't ruin it for me, okay? Peng Zhongfei immediately nodded. Yes, of course. Yundong, Liu Wei, and Tao Yan looked at him suspiciously. It took him so long to recognize it. I really recognize it. Peng Zhongfei was a little anxious. I've seen this material before, but our cloth shop doesn't have it. It's not just our cloth shop. I reckon even the prefectural city doesn't have it. This material is fabric from the Jiao kingdom. It's usually a present to our country. Therefore, there definitely isn't much of this. Basically, it's bestowed to the concubines or high-ranking officials by the emperor after he obtained it. Yundong was stunned. Materials from the royal palace? No way. So you're saying that only those noble families in the royal palace or the capital have it? Was Brother Shao's identity so impressive? That's not true. There are also some among the commoners, but they're very few. It's definitely unavailable in shops. Although it was offered by the Jiao kingdom, the fabric that entered Dajiang was basically used by the emperor to reward the concubines and officials. However, the Qiu kingdom also had business dealings with Dajiang. If the commoners had the financial ability, it was not surprising for them to obtain this fabric. However, they definitely could not sell it. Otherwise, they would be courting death. Are you sure? Peng Zhongfei nodded vigorously. He was very certain. He had seen it once before when he followed his father to the capital. There was too little such fabric to sell. Gu Yundong was a little dumbfounded. So, the scope was still very wide. The high-ranking officials and nobles in the capital had them, and so did the concubines and civilians. Where could she start looking? Also, it was unlikely that old man Li would go to the capital, right? However, she was certain of one thing. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1055, Going to the Zhang family. This handkerchief definitely had nothing to do with the Tao family. With old Master Tao and old Madame Tao's hatred for Tao Yan, they would definitely not give him such a rare and precious fabric to use. At the very least, before Tao Yan was carried away, this handkerchief would definitely not belong to him. This was Shao Qingyuan's. On the other hand, there was the word Shao embroidered on the handkerchief. She would look for someone with the surname Shao. Brother Shao's father might have the surname Shao. Gu Yundong finally heaved a sigh of relief. She stuffed the handkerchief back into her sleeve. When she looked up, she saw Peng Zhongfei smiling at her. Miss Gu, are you all right? No. Gu Yundong smiled at him, wanting to see what he was going to say. Peng Zhongfei secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Then let's eat something. Speaking of which, why hasn't this waiter served the dishes yet? It's been half a day. As he spoke, he began to criticize Liu Wei. I say, your restaurant's speed is not good. Only I'm magnanimous and tolerant and won't argue with you. If you encounter a rude person, the table will be smashed. Liu Wei snorted and stood up directly. Come. Smash it. Are you jealous of my restaurant's good business? Didn't I just ask you to pay? Look at how anxious you are. It's as if I've taken advantage of you. Before he came up, he deliberately told the waiter not to serve the dishes. Seeing how anxious Gu Yundong was, he knew that she had something to ask. Was it good to serve the dishes halfway? Besides, he wasn't willing to eat at the same table as Peng Zhongfei. Who knew if the guy would go back on his word in the end and demand a discount? Peng Zhongfei knew that he was not a good person. Did I make a mistake when I treated you to a meal? I'm not very happy to eat it. The Zhang family even treated me to wild venison. I'll eat it now. See you again. As he spoke, he gestured for Gu Yundong to leave. Unexpectedly, Tao Yan, who was quietly listening to their bickering, was suddenly stunned. He asked, Zhang family? Which Zhang family? Zhang House. The Zhang family that sells pastries? Are you very familiar with the Zhang family? Liu Wei waved his hand. No, it's just business dealings. Tao Yan stopped talking. Gu Yundong took a few more glances at him, feeling a little puzzled. Unfortunately, before she could ask, Liu Wei urged her to leave quickly. As soon as he went out, Liu Wei snorted and asked the waiter to serve the dishes to Peng Zhongfei and the others. At the same time, he reserved a room to eat. Gu Yundong grabbed him. We're eating here? Aren't we going to the Zhang family? Are we? It's already so late. There's no point in going. I just didn't want to eat with Peng Zhongfei, so I came out on purpose. Liu Wei said happily, but Gu Yundong was silent for a moment before saying, let's go to the Zhang family. She was a little concerned about Tao Yan's hesitation just now. Liu Wei's brows were tightly knitted. It's all right. If my father asks, just say that I refuse to go. Hell just hit me. But Gu Yundong had already walked downstairs. But I suddenly want to eat venison. Liu Wei, why would a woman like you be so interested in venison? Don't you know that's what it was supposed to enhance manhood? At the thought of this, Liu Wei blushed. Seeing that Gu Yundong was about to leave the house, she quickly chased after him. Luan was still waiting outside. When he saw them come out, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. When the two of them got into the carriage and walked back to the Sun family, Gu Yundong asked, Peng Zhongfei and the others don't know about your engagement with Miss Zhang? Otherwise, why would they ask about his relationship with the Zhang family? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1056. Is this what Liu Wei called ferocious? Liu Wei pursed his lips. If even you don't know, how would they know? Gu Yundong raised an eyebrow at him. Liu Wei said lazily, this is my request. I can get engaged, but they can't tell anyone. My father is afraid that if I'm forced into a corner, it'll run away without a trace, so he agreed. You know that I'm not satisfied with this marriage, but my father insists that I interact with Miss Zhang. He seems to be certain that he'll definitely like her. It can also be considered to be giving each other a way out. If I still don't want to get married to Miss Zhang, he'll silently cancel the engagement. It won't ruin her reputation. The Zhang family doesn't object to your request? Liu Wei said, there's a problem with the Zhang family's business. With the help of the Liu family, they naturally won't object. However, Miss Zhang is very angry. She's also fierce. Every time she sees me, she acts like she's the boss and I can only prostrate on the ground. This description was really indescribable. As the two of them spoke, the carriage stopped in front of the Sun family's house. Liu Wei asked Gu Yundong to wait in the carriage while he jumped out. Not long after, he returned with Liu Yan. Gu Yundong and Liu Yan had met twice. Although they were not as familiar as Liu Wei, their relationship was not bad. She sat next to Gu Yundong and said, I heard from Liu Wei that this kid is too insensible. My father is also messing around and I have to trouble you to make a trip. It's all right. I'm friends with Liu Wei. I'm also very curious about his fiancée. Gu Yundong smiled. Sister Liu, are you familiar with Miss Zhang? I've met her twice, but I can't say that I'm familiar with her. Although they were both young ladies from wealthy families in the county, Liu Yan was 7 or 8 years older than Miss Zhang. When she was still a girl, Miss Zhang was just a little bean. Later on, she married someone and gave birth to a child. She could not play with Miss Zhang. Although they had met twice, it was actually in a hurry. Gu Yundong nodded. She knew what was going on. The Zhang family was really quite far from the Liu family. One was in the south and the other was in the north of the county. When the carriage stopped at the entrance of the Zhang family's house, a servant was waiting anxiously outside. When he saw Liu Wei coming down, he hurriedly ran over. Young Master Liu, you're finally here. Our young master is waiting for you. Before he could finish speaking, he saw Liu Yan and Gu Yundong coming out. He was stunned for a moment. Mrs. Sun? Liu Yan smiled. I happened to come home to see my father. When I heard that you had a wild deer, I couldn't help but come over to join in the fun. Why? Am I not welcome? The servant suddenly came back to his senses. No. This way, please. I'll get someone to tell Miss now. Liu Yan nodded, and the three of them followed the servant into the Zhang family. Compared to the Liu family, the Zhang family was indeed smaller. However, it was still a big family in Fengkai County and looked very rich. When they reached the front yard, Liu Wei separated from them. The servant led him to the left. On Gu Yundong's side, a maidservant led the way. After walking for a while, she suddenly heard a hearty voice. Sister Liu, you're here? As soon as the woman finished speaking, Gu Yundong saw a figure walking over quickly. She was wearing a light pink dress, and the pearl hairpin on her head swayed as she walked. She looked a little cute. She had a bright smile on her face and 2 dimples on both sides. It was obvious that she was a sweet girl. Is this the ferocity that Liu Wei spoke of? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1057, Miss Zhang. Zhang Jiao. Miss Zhang quickly stood in front of Gu Yundong and the other woman. The dimples on her face were especially eye-catching and playful. She smiled and held Lu Yan's arm. Unexpectedly, she saw Gu Yundong standing at the side. Zhang Jiao blinked in surprise. This is... Look at me, I almost forgot to introduce you. This is Gu Yundong, Miss Gu. Lu Yan smiled and said to Gu Yundong, this is Miss Zhang, Zhang Jiao. Zhang Jiao was stunned. She looked at Gu Yundong in confusion. Miss Gu? Is she from the Gu family in the north of the city? As far as she knew, there was only one family in the county with the surname Gu. However, she had seen the girl from that family before. Why did Gu Yundong look so unfamiliar? A trace of embarrassment flashed across Lu Yan's face as she said in a low voice, no. Gu Yundong, on the other hand, was very calm. I have nothing to do with the Gu family in the north of the city. I'm just a country girl. I happen to know Sister Lu, so I followed her out to see the world. Zhang Jiao was stunned. She sized Gu Yundong up from head to toe for a while before saying, Miss Gu doesn't look like a country girl at all. With her appearance and bearing, I would believe that she's the daughter of an official. Ha ha ha. Lu Yan covered her mouth and laughed. You know how to talk. Zhang Jiao was displeased. I'm telling the truth. With that, she ran over to Gu Yundong. Miss Gu, this is your first time coming to my house, right? Let's go, I'll show you around. Gu Yundong nodded and the three of them walked towards the backyard. Zhang Jiao was very cheerful and lively. As the host, she had been talking non-stop along the way. When they reached the reception hall, she led the two of them to sit down. Come, sit. Come and try my brother's new venison today. There were already many dishes on the table. The dazzling array of dishes was very sumptuous. Zhang Jiao took good care of Gu Yundong. Afraid that she would be too polite, she kept urging her to eat first. Gu Yundong could only smile politely, indicating that she could do it herself. After the meal, Gu Yundong's forehead was covered in sweat. She didn't have much of an impression of Zhang Jiao. She just felt that she was too enthusiastic. As for being fierce, only Liu Wei felt that way, right? After dinner, Zhang Jiao brought them around the Zhang residence. Halfway through, young Master Zhang Hao and young Master Zhang sent word that they would invite everyone over to play pitchpot. Lu Yan blinked at Gu Yundong and whispered, this is a chance for the two of them to meet and talk. With that, she immediately agreed. Sure, I like pitchpot. Before I was married, I was one of the top girls in this county. Zhang Jiao became excited. Really? Sister Lu is so powerful? Then, she looked at Gu Yundong. What about Miss Gu? Do you know how to play? I've never played it before. I'm just watching. She had never played pitchpot before. All this time, she had a lot of things to do. When it came to entertainment, she mostly spent time in drawing, playing chess, and playing puzzles with her younger siblings. Pitchpot? First time playing. Zhang Jiao smiled. It's fine. I'll teach you. It's very simple. Therefore, the group of people excitedly arrived at a courtyard of the Zhang residence and saw Zhang Hao and Liu Wei chatting and laughing. Upon seeing Zhang Jiao, Liu Wei jumped up reflexively and immediately took 2 steps back. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1058, Miss Gus. First time Liu Wei narrowed her eyes and shot him a warning glance. Only then did Liu Wei try his best to restrain his urge to escape. However, he quickly turned his head slightly and looked at Gu Yundong. His gaze was filled with condemnation. It was as if he was saying, I asked you here to help, but you actually dragged me down and made friends with them. You're not human. Yundong looked up at the sky. The weather was good today. Yes. Other than Liu Wei and Zhang Hao, there were also a few servants in the courtyard. It looked very lively. Zhang Hao was Zhang Jiao's brother. It was said that he was 5 years older than her. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes and was quite energetic. Seeing the three of them coming over, Zhang Hao hurriedly greeted them. You're finally here. Jiao, come over and help big brother. You've always been good at pitchpot. Let Liu Wei see it so that he won't think that he's invincible. Quick, help big brother defeat him. As she spoke, she pushed Liu Wei again. Compete with my sister. If you lose to her, you have to return the money you won from me just now. Jiao, you have to fight for me. Zhang Jiao frowned. Brother, you're actually gambling? It's just for fun. It's just 10 or 20 taels. Anyway, we're family. What does it matter? Hurry up and help me win back the silver. Zhang Jiao glared at him helplessly and took a few steps forward. Liu Wei was not happy. He moved to the side, straightened his neck, and said, No, I'm a man and she's a woman. If I compete with her, it would be unfair if I win. The problem was that if he lost, he would lose all his face. Zhang Jiao raised her eyebrows. How do you know that you will definitely win? She was provoking him, but Liu Wei did not respond at all. In any case, I can't. If I compete with a woman, won't I be bullying her? Absolutely not. He shook his head repeatedly. Lu Yan, who was not far away, was almost angered to death by him. Everyone present could tell that Zhang Hao had deliberately made the suggestion to create an opportunity for the two of them to interact. But he actually hid far away. Liu Wei didn't agree, and the scene became a little awkward. Zhang Hao laughed. Forget it. Looks like I can only do it myself. After saying that, he rolled up his sleeves and came forward, throwing an arrow into the pot. Lu Yan could only put in more effort to liven up the atmosphere. She was the second to come forward. Speaking of which, I haven't played in a long time. My hands are rusty. If I can't shoot accurately later, don't laugh at me, okay? After so many times, this matter was finally resolved. Liu Wei was a playful person to begin with. Although he was unwilling to get along with Zhang Jiao, he became excited when everyone started to have fun. The four of them took 2 turns. Zhang Hao could not help but look up at Yundong, who was sitting in the pavilion. He smiled and said, Miss Gu, why are you only drinking tea? Come along. The 3 girls can compete to see who's the best. Zhang Jiao hurriedly said, No, Miss Gu has never played this before. This is the first time. Then, she said to Yundong, let's not listen to eldest brother. I'll teach you how to play first. It's boring to compete. Zhang Hao waved his hand. You're good at playing by yourself, but there's no need to teach others. I'll teach you. Miss Gu will definitely like it after learning this. Next time, you don't have to sit there alone and be bored. Liu Wei frowned. Why were the 2 of them joining in the fun? The Gu girl was not familiar with them. What was there to teach? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1059, Yundong crushes them. He was here, and Big Sis was here. Was it their turn? Liu Wei jumped into the pavilion in 2 or 3 steps. Ignore them. Just sit here and eat snacks and drink tea. Speaking of which, their snacks are not bad. After all, they were in the snack business. Yundong was silent for a moment before saying in a low voice, I remember you telling me in the carriage when you came. You once told Miss Zhang my name, right? Liu Wei nodded, but he looked confused. Yes, why? Yundong smiled. Nothing. She stood up and walked out of the pavilion. She didn't know if the 2 siblings saw that Liu Wei's attitude toward her was different, but they looked a little unhappy now. Lu Yan couldn't help but hold her forehead. This silly little brother. Gu Yundong walked in front of Zhang Hao and took out an arrow from the basket beside him. He said, "There's no need to teach me. I saw that you guys played 2 rounds just now and have roughly learned it." Zhang Hao quickly came back to his senses and said with a smile, "It's not something that can be learned just by looking at it. You don't know, although this pitch pot looks simple, it requires agility. The angle has to be chosen well, and the wrist has to be exerted, the eyes." With a bang, the arrow in Gu Yundong's hand flew forward and went straight into the pot. Zhang Hao, Zhang Jiao, Lu Yan, Liu Wei said, "All right." Clap 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 clap. Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. Zhang Hao, who was beside him, quickly applauded. "Miss Gu is too awesome. She must have been lucky." Gu Yundong picked up another arrow and threw it in with a bang. "Good." Liu Wei continued to cheer excitedly. She did not want to look at her annoying brother. Fortunately, she still had Liu Yi at home. If he could inherit the family business in the future, the Liu family would not be declined just like that. Zhang Hao frowned slightly, but he quickly relaxed. Bang! 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 Following that, there were a few more soft sounds. After that, the arrows were all in the pitch pot without exception. At this moment, everyone present was surprised. The pitch pot looked simple, but Zhang Hao was right. Skill was really important. They admitted that their skills were not bad, but it was not to the point where they did not miss a single shot. Even if it was them, it was impossible for them to not miss a single one of the 7 or 8 arrows in a row. Bang, bang, bang. Gu Yundong nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. Other than Liu Wei, who had a proud and excited expression on his face, everyone else in the courtyard had wooden expressions. Zhang Jiao took a while to find her voice. "Miss Gu, is this really your first time playing?" Gu Yundong nodded seriously. "It's true. I never lie." Liu Wei secretly pursed his lips. "Shouldn't you be honest with yourself?" Gu Yundong rubbed her wrist and continued, "You also know that I'm just a country bumpkin. I've done too much farm work at home. I'm strong and my wrist is strong. That's why I didn't miss any of them." "ISS, that so?" Zhang Jiao was stunned. She looked at her, then lowered her eyes to look at her wrist. Gu Yundong's expression was serious. That must be the case. Zhang Hao was so shocked that he could not say a word just now. Now, he finally said dryly, "So there are such benefits to doing farm work. Looks like I should go to the field to train." "Young Master Zhang, that's a good idea." Gu Yundong agreed. Zhang Hao laughed dryly again. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1060, Have You Fallen for Gu Yundong? Gu Yundong had thrown the arrows once, and almost crushed everyone present. When she continued to play, no one called her. However, Zhang Hao and Zhang Jiao still came to her side from time to time to ask about her well-being, as if they were afraid that as the host, they would neglect her. Gu Yundong also responded with a smile and continued to drink tea and eat snacks. Liu Wei's words made sense. The Zhang family's snacks were indeed not bad. However, after eating and drinking too much, she could not control her physiological reaction. Gu Yundong saw that the others were playing and did not notice her. She called the maidservant beside her and asked her to lead the way to the toilet. The maidservant quickly responded and led her out of the pavilion. After walking out of the courtyard and making 2 more turns, the maidservant stopped. Gu Yundong entered the outhouse. The maidservant was waiting outside. However, when Gu Yundong came out, the servant girl was nowhere to be seen. Gu Yundong could not help but rub her chin. Was the Zhang family going to do the same thing as the Peng family? Was it so dangerous to go to the toilet in a rich family? Could she be killed after going in and coming out? It couldn't be, right? She didn't have any deep hatred with the Zhang family. It was her first time meeting them, so she was very flustered. Yundong stood at the same spot for a long time, but the servant girls still did not come. Forget it, she still knew the way. She raised her foot and slowly took a small step forward. Just like when they came, Yundong turned 2 corners. Just as she was about to reach the courtyard, a voice suddenly came from the corner. She didn't want to stop, really, even if the speaker happened to mention her name. However, if she didn't stop, she would directly bump into him. It would be a pity if the person who spoke couldn't finish his sentence. Thus, Yundong leaned against the wall and listened quietly to the voices around the corner behind him. Did you notice that Miss Gu's appearance is actually the most outstanding among the 3 of them? I did. She's indeed good-looking, but I heard that she's just a village girl. So what if she's a village girl? Even if she's a village girl, she's still better than us servants. She's even better than the person who spoke suddenly lowered her voice. She's even better than our young madam. That's true. Young madam's health is too poor. She's lying on the bed sickly all day. Young master doesn't even go to her room now. Speaking of young master, did you notice just now? Young master seems to treat that Miss Gu very differently. That's right, that's right. I can see it too. Eldest young master is especially enthusiastic about taking care of Miss Gu. From time to time, he would look at Miss Gu as if he was afraid of neglecting her. He even asked us to heat up the tea and snacks. In the entire courtyard, Miss Gu is the only one eating and drinking. Isn't young master asking us to bring hot food for her? Also, just now, young master said that he wanted to personally teach Miss Gu. In the past, when Miss asked young master to teach her, young master was very impatient. Do you think young master is interested in Miss Gu? I've never seen young master so concerned about someone. Sigh, so what if he's interested? With young madam around, it's impossible for young master to marry her. Who said it's impossible? The person who spoke suddenly became excited, but he tried his best to suppress it, as if he was about to say a shocking secret. Let me tell you, I just heard some incredible news yesterday. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1061, Solicitous, What News? Didn't young madam vomit blood yesterday? Dr. Liu came to the residence to treat her. At that time, he comforted young madam and said that she was fine as long as she took her medicine on time. However, the moment she went out, she sighed at young master and said that young madam probably doesn't have many months to live. What? The person who heard this exclaimed and quickly covered her mouth. She asked softly, are you serious? It's true. At that time, I was leading the way for Dr. Liu and happened to hear it. Young master gave an order on the spot not to let anyone know. It was because you were close to me that I told you. I promise I won't say it. But this way, young master might also marry Miss Gu. I think it's possible. Young master is very concerned about Miss Gu. That's not right. If young madam is really gone, young master will have to wait at least a year or 2 before he remarries. You don't understand, do you? As long as our young master brings Miss Gu into the house before the young madam dies, and then helps her become the young madam, it won't be a big deal. But what? But she's from a small family. Even if our young master likes her and wants to help her become his first wife, master and madam won't agree, right? That's true. Old master and madam would definitely prefer to find a suitable match for young master. Unfortunately, Miss Gu doesn't have any advantage. If she did, our old master would still be easy to talk to. That's right. Back then, young madam's family relied on a pastry recipe to get master to agree to the marriage between the 2 families. Miss Gu doesn't have any recipes. It's useless to say anything more. I am not talking to you anymore. I still have to change the tea. The tea is cold. Then, Yundong heard rustling sounds and the 2 of them walked further and further away. She closed her eyes slightly and leaned against the wall, wanting to laugh. Did he really treat her as an insensible country girl? She stood on the spot again. As expected, footsteps sounded again after a while. Immediately after, the servant girl who had led the way earlier hurried over. Miss Gu, so you're here. I'm really sorry. I saw that old Madame Wang was carrying some heavy things just now, so I helped her carry them over. When I came back, I didn't see Mississippi. I thought that Miss hadn't come out, so I waited outside. After a long time, I realized that something was wrong and quickly came over. This explanation, Yundong smiled. It's all right. Let's go. We've been delayed for a long time. Yes, of course. Young master and the others must be anxious. The two of them returned to the courtyard one after another. They saw that the four of them had stopped playing pitch-pot and were sitting in the pavilion chatting. Zhang Hao was the first to see her. He immediately stood up and said, Miss Gu, you're back. The kitchen has just made a new snack. Miss Gu, would you like to try it? Yundong walked to her seat and sat down. On her left was Lu Yan, and on her right was Zhang Jiao. Zhang Jiao smiled and picked up a snack for her. Try it. This is delicious. It cost a lot of white sugar. Yundong took a bite. Yes, it was a little greasy. They had indeed spent a lot of sugar. She didn't say much and watched the others talk and laugh. Zhang Hao looked at her from time to time, but Yundong just lowered her head and pretended not to see it. It was not until Lu Yan saw that it was getting late and was about to leave that she stood up. Zhang Hao and his sister sent them out of the house. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1062, What's Wrong? After getting into the carriage, Liu Wei slumped in his seat. Lu Yan hit him and ignored him. She turned around and asked Yundong, how is it? Miss Zhang isn't as fierce as Liu Wei said, right? She's just a little enthusiastic. You're not scared, are you? Yundong shook her head and leaned against the wall of the carriage. I'm just a little tired. Tired? Lu Yan was stunned. Although they had spent most of the afternoon playing pitch-pot, other than the 10 arrows, Yundong had not moved at all. She practically sat in the pavilion and ate. Although they had been chatting for the latter half of the day, it was not to the extent of saying that she was tired, right? Lu Yan seemed to have thought of something and quickly asked, what do you think is wrong with Miss Zhang? Liu Wei immediately perked up when he heard this. What's wrong? It was as if he would immediately break off the engagement if Yundong said anything bad. It seemed that he was indeed against this marriage. Yundong and Lu Yan looked at him with dark expressions. After a while, Lu Yan rubbed her forehead. You're already an adult. Can you be more sensible? This is a huge matter about marriage. If I had been more sensible, I would have married Miss Zhang. Yundong shook her head and said to Lu Yan, let's go back to the Lu residence first. Liu Wei still wanted to ask, but she glared at him, so he could only wait patiently. After all, Yundong had just said that he was tired. Although she might be mentally tired, he could not force her anymore. What if Qingyuan found out and felt that his wife was being bullied? The carriage headed towards the Lu residence. Although Yundong did not say anything else, Lu Yan still lowered her eyes and began to think. She recalled today's situation and wanted to see if there was anything wrong. However, when the carriage stopped at the entrance of the Lu residence, Lu Yan still felt that Zhang Jiao's words were a little too loud and enthusiastic. Everything else was normal. The three of them entered the main door and walked all the way to the central room. Old Master Lu and Qingyuan were talking. The two of them were now businessmen, so they naturally had many common topics to talk about. In addition, Old Master Lu felt that Qingyuan was smart and considerate, especially when compared to his son. Hence, he liked this young man more. Seeing them return, Old Master Lu still looked like he had not had enough. However, he immediately stood up and looked at his daughter before turning to Yundong. How was it? Did you have a good time? Liu Wei felt that he was probably not a biological son. Seeing that his father did not look at him at all, he simply went to talk to Shao Qingyuan. Yundong sat down and took a sip of tea before starting to talk about what she had said and done when she first entered the Zhang residence. She described everything until she left the courtyard and went to the toilet. Old Master Liu nodded. In that case, Miss Zhang is not bad. She's warm and considerate. He looked at Liu Wei. Did you hear that? Even the Gu girl has a good evaluation of Miss Zhang. Hurry up and pack up to get married. Liu Wei exploded. Father, are you deaf? When did she say that Miss Zhang is not bad? Old Master Liu was speechless. It seemed that she had not come to a conclusion. He paused and turned to look at Yundong. The latter asked Liu Wei, can't you tell what's wrong? Liu Wei blinked, then blinked again with a blank expression. Just as Yundong sighed and gave up on him, this fellow suddenly jumped 3 feet high. I understand. He instantly became smug. When I met Miss Zhang in the past, I told her Yundong's name. She clearly knew it, but she still deliberately asked if you were from the Gu family in the north of the city. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1063. The Zhang family's good plan. Old Master Liu was stunned and frowned. She did it on purpose to embarrass Yundong? She clearly knew that Yundong was not from a rich family, but she still deliberately mentioned the Gu family in the north of the city, as if she was waiting for Yundong to say that she was a country bumpkin. Yundong said, actually, this doesn't matter. She might have misunderstood my relationship with Liu Wei. She's a little vain and wants to teach me a lesson. Humans can't be perfect. It's not a big deal to have some small thoughts. At that time, Yundong really did not think much of it. Even when they were eating, Jiao kept introducing all kinds of delicious dishes, as if Yundong was just a country girl who had no experience, but she did not make it too obvious. At least, at that time, Liu Yan, who was sitting at the same table, only sighed at how enthusiastic she was. Until they saw Zhang Hao. What's wrong with meeting Zhang Hao? Liu Yan had always felt that she was quite intelligent. Others had also praised her for being smart. But now that she heard Yundong's words, she realized that she had overlooked these details. At the mention of Zhang Hao, Yundong sneered. Zhang Jiao wanted to matchmake me with Zhang Hao. What did you say? Shao Qingyuan, who had been silent all this while, was the first to frown. Liu Wei was also shocked. After the shock, he silently shrank his presence to prevent Shao Qingyuan from blaming him. Why did she want to matchmake you and young Master Zhang? Liu Yan was a little curious. If she really looks down on your identity, why did she? It's probably for sugar. Besides, she didn't want Zhang Hao to marry me as his first wife. It'll just be a concubine. It's not a loss for their family to exchange the identity of a concubine for the sugar. The Zhang family was in the pastry business and needed too much white sugar. However, Gus could sold 5 caddies at a time. How could it satisfy their appetite? However, everyone in Fengkai County knew that the Gu family's sugar was dedicated to the emperor. With the emperor's decree, no one in the county dared to have any designs on the sugar. However, this did not mean that they could not have designs on Yundong. Now, other than the imperial court, only the Gu family could do the white sugar business. As long as Yundong became a member of the Zhang family, the white sugar business would naturally belong to the Zhang family. This Zhang family had a good plan. Moreover, the 2 whispering people had specially mentioned that the young madam did not have many months left to live. They gave Yundong some pressure and let her know that if she wanted to marry into the Zhang family and become the young madam of the Zhang family, it was best to become the young master's concubine as soon as possible. Yundong was speechless. Why was the Zhang family so sure that she would fall for Zhang Hao? Just because he was the eldest young master of the Zhang family? Old Master Liu frowned when he heard that. Old Master Zhang's business ability was average and he had some small problems, but as an in-law, there was no big problem. But his children, especially Zhang Jiao. It was fine even if she had some tricks up her sleeve. He did not care. However, she could not be too unreliable. Liu Wei was already unreliable enough. Even if his future wife wasn't too smart, she should know her limits. Since Zhang Jiao knew that Gu Yundong's family was in the sugar business, she would definitely know that she was engaged. She went to matchmake a girl who was engaged to be her brother's concubine. And she even used her sister-in-law as a raft. She simply didn't know what was going on. Moreover, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Gu Yundong had a close relationship with the Liu family. Yet, she had to offend Gu Yundong. Not only could such a person not help Liu Wei, but she would also drag him down. Gu Yundong saw that old Master Liu knew what he was doing, so she added, "Uncle Liu, why don't you spend more time to find out more about Zhang Jiao's personality and the Zhang family's plans?" Gu Yundong was still very concerned about Tao Yan's expression when he asked about the Zhang family. Old Master Liu nodded. He thought so too. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1064. Shocking result. Liu Wei was very happy to hear that. Judging from his father's words, there was no follow-up to his marriage with Zhang Jiao. However, before old Master Liu found out the results, this marriage had to continue. However, no one expected that after more than a month, the results of old Master Liu's investigation would be so shocking. Not only was Zhang Jiao unreliable, but her personality was also not fierce, but vicious. The reason why the young madam of the Zhang family was bedridden was because Zhang Jiao had poisoned her. And the reason was actually because Zhang Jiao and Zhang Hao slept together and disrupted the social rules. This was a huge amount of information. When old Master Liu found out, he almost couldn't breathe. His fingers trembled. The Zhang family actually wanted to marry such a lousy thing to the Liu family and become the wife of his precious son? Old Master Liu was trembling with anger, but he still continued to investigate. As expected, Zhang Jiao was not the daughter of the Zhang family at all. She was the illegitimate daughter of Mrs. Zhang's brother, who was afraid that the tigress at home would find out, so he lied and said that she was Mrs. Zhang's daughter. He gave old Master Zhang some benefits and raised Zhang Jiao in the Zhang family since she was young. It was not until Zhang Jiao and Zhang Hao's affair was exposed that old Master Zhang and Madame Zhang could not wait to arrange a marriage for Zhang Jiao. Of course, Zhang Jiao was unwilling at first. She wanted to reveal her identity and marry Zhang Hao openly. However, she was dreaming. How could old Master Zhang and his wife agree? She was just an illegitimate daughter. Not to mention how revealing her identity would affect Mrs. Zhang's brother. Zhang Hao already had an official wife. With Zhang Jiao's identity, she could at most be a concubine. However, Zhang Jiao was unwilling, so she poisoned young Madame Zhang. Old Master Zhang almost beat her to death when he found out. It was Mrs. Zhang who stopped him in time because she was his niece and had been raised since she was young. However, Zhang Jiao could not stay in the Zhang family no matter what. Zhang Jiao also knew that after the matter was exposed, she could only marry out. Now, old Master Zhang could still listen to Madame Zhang and choose a good marriage for her. If he waited until the day he got impatient, she might even be given to an old man as a concubine. Under Mrs. Zhang's persuasion and Zhang Hao's comfort, Zhang Jiao finally agreed to get married. In any case, even if she could not become husband and wife with Zhang Hao, they didn't have to be together day and night if they truly loved each other. When she married into a rich family, she would give birth to Zhang Hao's child and let this child inherit all the assets of that family. Wouldn't that be killing two birds with one stone? What was even more unacceptable to old Master Liu was that old Master Zhang's choice from the start was Tao Yan of the Tao family. The third young master of the Tao family was the eldest son of the Tao family. However, old Master Liu knew about the Tao family's trivia in the past. He knew that Tao Yan was abandoned by the Tao family. At least in old Master Liu's heart, Tao Yan was much more respected than his Liu Wei. He was old Master Liu's eldest son. Although he was unruly, he had always been doted on. He had grown up safely in the Liu family. He was capable of literature and martial arts and had a wide range of friends. He was not bad at all. However, Tao Yan didn't want Zhang Jiao. Instead, he couldn't wait to engage his son to this woman. Old Master Liu almost spat out a mouthful of blood, but this was his own fault. This was because his standards for his daughter-in-law had been exposed by someone. Many people in the county knew that he wanted to find a fierce daughter-in-law to suppress his son. Therefore, Zhang Jiao walked towards this persona. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1065. He wants to get married. Old Master Liu was angry and regretful. It was all his fault for being too anxious. In the end, he let such an ignorant person have designs on the Liu residence. He couldn't help but rejoice that Liu Wei didn't take a fancy to that girl and even made a request to keep the engagement a secret for the time being. Otherwise, if such a thing happened, the Zhang family's reputation, or Zhang Jiao's, would suffer the heavier blow. However, the Liu family was also in trouble. Liu Wei would also be criticized. This marriage was definitely going to be called off. Not only was the marriage called off, but the Zhang family could not be let off so easily. Did he really think that the Liu family was easy to bully? He actually treated them as fools. If old Master Liu did not vent his anger, his surname would not be Liu. Of course, this was all in the future. At this moment, although old Master Liu did not have a good impression of Zhang Jiao, he did not hate her so much. He was grateful to Gu Yundong. It was right to let you go to the Zhang family. But Gu girl, according to what you said, Zhang Hao also has designs on you. You have to be careful. Don't worry. They're still hoping that he'll take the initiative to be his concubine. Such a beautiful thing can only be done in their dreams. Besides, we'll be returning to the prefectural city in a few days. When we return, they'll be married to brother Shao. Shao Qingyuan, who was at the side, had an extremely ugly expression when he heard Zhang Hao's plan. He was thinking about whether to put him in a sack and beat him up or throw him into the water. Unexpectedly, when he suddenly heard Gu Yundong talk about marriage, the gloom in his heart was instantly swept away. He turned around and looked at her with a gentle gaze. That's right, they were about to get married. It was fine if that Zhang fellow retreated in the face of difficulties. If he still did not give up and wanted to approach them, it would be a light punishment for Shao Qingyuan to break the man's limbs. At the side, Liu Wei touched his arm. They made him feel mushy. However, for some reason, he suddenly felt a trace of envy. For the first time in his life, the man who had been single for nearly 20 years and was extremely repulsed by marriage and wished he could eat, drink, and have fun for the rest of his life had the thought of finding a wife. It seemed like it was not bad to have wife and children. When he had a wife, he would bring her out every day to show off their love. He would tell everyone that their relationship was very, very good. He would make those men who did not have a wife envious and jealous. He wanted them to hate him but could not get rid of him. Just thinking about it made him happy. Well, the next time his father asked him to go on a blind date, he would reluctantly go and take a look. He would not refuse. However, at this moment, old Master Liu sighed in his heart. Fate was indeed something that could not be forced. Perhaps his son's love had yet to arrive, so he did not have to be so anxious. He would think about it when his son wanted to get married. Seeing that it was getting late, Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan bade farewell and left the Liu residence. After getting into the carriage, Gu Yundong took out the handkerchief from her sleeve. Facing Shao Qingyuan's puzzled gaze, she told him about her encounter with Tao Yan and Peng Zhongfei at Jinxiu restaurant. Shao Qingyuan was surprised. So, this handkerchief was originally mine? Old Li didn't change the clothes and accessories on Tao Yan and me? Yes, it must be yours. Gu Yundong nodded. And according to Peng Zhongfei, this handkerchief is very rare and precious. Since your family put such a rare handkerchief on you and use it as an ordinary handkerchief, they must dote on you very much. Shao Qingyuan suddenly tightened his grip on his handkerchief, and his lowered eyelids trembled slightly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1066, Does Old Li have an enemy? Gu Yundong saw it and suddenly felt sorry for him. Sure enough, Brother Shao was very concerned about this. She reached out and grabbed his large palm. Her fingers intertwined with his and held onto it tightly. Shao Qingyuan raised his head and hugged her. He rubbed his chin gently on her hair. I'm fine. Big Brother Shao, old man Li might have a grudge against your family. That's why he carried you away and tortured you like this. However, if your family is powerful, why would old man Li, an illiterate farmer, be involved? Shao Qingyuan said, let's go back and ask Li Dunzi. Gu Yundong nodded. When the carriage drove into Yongfu village, the sky was already a little dark. When they arrived at the Gu residence, the two of them got out of the carriage and went straight to second brother Li's house. Li Dunzi and Madame Du had been very happy these past 2 days. Their son was married, and Shao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong came to congratulate them. The villagers' attitude towards them instantly changed. Even Madame Du's maternal family became much more affectionate. Especially today, they wanted her to talk to Shao Qingyuan so that their family could cut the queue and come over in advance for the vaccination. Madame Du didn't dare to agree to such a request. Her maternal family didn't know, but she knew very well. Shao Qingyuan and the others gave her face because of that handkerchief. Hence, she found an excuse to reject them selflessly. When Shao Qingyuan and the others came in, Madame Du was feeding the chickens. Hearing a familiar voice coming from the door, she thought that she had heard wrongly. It took a while for him to react and hurriedly went out to welcome her. Why are you here? We want to ask you something. Gu Yundong looked behind her but did not see Li Dunzi. Madame Du was smart and quickly invited the two of them in. She said, my husband is in the house. Come in and drink some water. Li Dunzi sat there happily eating peanuts. When he saw the two of them enter, he was shocked. After the few of them entered the house, Madame Du closed the door. Shao Qingyuan asked, do you know who old Li has a grudge against? Li Dunzi and his wife were surprised. A grudge? No. Although old Li's thoughts were a little complicated and hurt Shao Qingyuan in the dark, at least to outsiders, he looked like an honest and amiable old man. He was quite popular in Yongfu village. Hence, both of them shook their heads. I've never heard of my father having a grudge against anyone. All these years, he hadn't even argued with the villagers. Gu Yundong frowned. Actually, Shao Qingyuan also knew this. She thought for a moment and changed the question. Then do you know that he left Fengkai County in the past and went to the prefectural city, or even further, like the capital? Madame Du widened her eyes. The capital? No way. Why did he go so far away? My father-in-law was just a farmer. How could he go to the capital? That's the capital. Who would dare to go without some money? She shook her head vehemently, thinking it impossible. Madame Du had only been to the county city at most. She had never even been to the prefectural city. She felt that the capital was on the horizon. It was too far away, so far that she could only hear this name in her life. On the other hand, Li Dunzi frowned slightly, as if he was in deep thought. His silence made Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan look at him. Madame Du asked in surprise, honey, why did you think for so long? Could it be that father-in-law really went to the capital? Was he that powerful? Li Dunzi shook his head. I don't know. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1067, Very strange. Just as Gu Yundong was about to be disappointed, she heard him say, although I don't know if my father went to the capital, he was indeed in the prefectural city. He scratched his head and tried his best to recall what had happened decades ago. My mother told us that my father was a peddler before he got married. He went to the prefectural city for business. After he got married, he stopped being a peddler. However, he would go out to look for work when he had spare time, but he didn't look for work in the county city like the villagers. He almost always went to the prefectural city, so he wouldn't be at home for 2 to 3 months. As for whether he went to the capital, even my mother didn't know. He would not be home for 2 to 3 months. If he rode a horse faster, it was not impossible for him to make a trip to the capital and come back. Then, was he not at home before he carried brother Shao back? Li Dunzi knew this. He nodded. He was indeed not around. He went to the prefectural city. At that time, we were all grown up and had children. Back then, the three of us even asked father to bring us to the prefectural city to make a fortune, but father didn't agree and left alone. In that case, Shao Qingyuan might really have been carried over from somewhere else. As for whether it was the capital or not, that was still to be verified. Old man Li did not seem to be close to his 3 sons. He had never brought any of his sons to the prefectural city. This person was really strange. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan walked out of second brother Li's house. The two of them did not speak along the way. There was a vast sea of people, and their only target seemed to be the capital. At the very least, they had to know what kind of people had this kind of fabric and whose surname was Shao. There were few pieces of such fabric, so there were always traces. Shao Qingyuan held her hand. There's no hurry. Take your time. It had been 20 years. It definitely wouldn't be that easy. Yes. Gu Yundong exhaled. No matter what, it was good to have a direction. The two of them chatted as they walked. When they reached the entrance of the Gu residence, they realized that Qin Liang was already waiting there. When he saw them return, he quickly welcomed them with a happy smile. Gu Yundong asked, Uncle Qin, why are you here? Did everything go smoothly today? Did those people cause trouble for you? As they spoke, they led Qin Liang through the door. Qin Liang immediately waved his hand. No, no. When they heard that Qingyuan was not around, they left. Don't worry, everything went smoothly today. I came over to tell you so that you wouldn't worry. However, I think they will come again tomorrow. It's fine. Brother Shao and I will go into the mountains to pick herbs tomorrow morning. Qin Liang nodded. That's good. He also talked about the vaccination today. Some people in the village had already been vaccinated. There were 5 or 6 people in the Gu family's workshop who had already been vaccinated. The production in the workshop could not stop, so it was impossible to vaccinate everyone at once. They could only do it in batches. 5 or 6 people per batch. Anyway, the workers in the Gu family workshop were not worried. Shao Qingyuan would not treat Gu Yundong's people badly, right? Therefore, compared to the anxious villagers in the village, they were much calmer. They continued to stick to their posts conscientiously until it was their turn. It was all thanks to Tong An's leadership that they trusted the Gu family so much. Gu Yundong trusted Tong and more. Qin Liang did not leave after explaining the situation in the village. He looked at Gu Yundong hesitantly. Yundong, there's another private matter that I need your help with. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1068, Niu Dan Brother, Lu Dan. Gu Yundong smiled. Uncle Qin, you don't have to be so polite. If there's anything you need, just say it. It'll definitely help if I can. It's like this. Qin Liang was still a little embarrassed. You also know that Niu Dan brother, Lu Dan, used to study in town. The corners of Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. She really did not know that Niu Dan brother was called Lu Dan. Didn't they say that he went to school early and was called by his full name? Only Qin Liang, as a grandfather, insisted on a lowly name so that it would be easy to raise him up. Lu Dan was Qin Jingkai's son. Lu Dan has also gone to Dongyi Academy in the county city to study, Qin Liang said. Gu Yundong said, that's a good thing. Lu Dan used to study in town. When Qin Jingkai was a junior manager, the family of 3 rented a house in town. Later on, Qin Jingkai lost his job, so he naturally stopped renting the house. Fortunately, his mother's maiden family was from town, so Lu Dan stayed at his grandfather's house most of the time, making it convenient for him to go to and from school. However, the Wei family's uncles and aunts were rather dissatisfied. After all, Qingyuan had already returned home to farm. Even if he would give food as a living expense every month, how was that enough? They were dissatisfied. The family had a few quarrels because of this, and Lu Dan's studies were also affected. It was only when Qingyuan became a county worker that the Wei family became enthusiastic about Lu Dan. However, Lu Dan was not a fool. How could he not see this perfunctory politeness? Therefore, when Qingyuan became the shopkeeper and his salary increased and stabilized in the county city, he began to send Lu Dan to the county city to study. It just so happened that Niu Dan was in Dongyi Academy, so the two brothers could accompany each other. Therefore, not long ago, Lu Dan also entered Dongyi Academy. Qingyuan was reassured, but the problem also emerged. Niu Dan had been riding the Gu family's carriage to the county city previously. Now that there was an additional Lu Dan, Qinliang was embarrassed to let his two grandsons freeload someone else's carriage. These days, it was Qinliang who drove the ox cart to send his two grandsons to the county city. It was just that the county city was far away and the ox cart was slow. It would be fine if he sent them over once or twice, but if he had to do it every morning and night, it would take too much time. He would not have to do his family's work. Qinliang had also thought of renting a house in the county city, but firstly, the rent in the county city was expensive, and secondly, his two grandsons were still young. He would not be at ease without someone to take care of them. Although Qingyuan could occasionally stay in the backyard of Gus' shop, he couldn't live there with the children. After thinking about it, Qinliang still wanted to borrow the Gu family's carriage to commute to the county. However, it had to carry an extra Lu Dan. Gu Yundong immediately agreed. No problem. Qinliang heaved a sigh of relief and took out the copper coins on him. Race 100 copper coins. Take it as the fare for the two brothers' carriage. Gu Yundong thought about it and did not refuse. She accepted it anyway. Qinliang heaved a sigh of relief. Then I'll go back first. You guys rest early too. He waved his hand and left the Gu residence briskly. When he returned to his courtyard, Madame Zhou, who had been waiting, hurriedly welcomed him. Did they accept the 100 copper coins? They did. Qinliang looked relaxed as he went in to eat. Madame Zhou heaved a sigh of relief. Unexpectedly, Madame Wei was unhappy when she heard this. It's just one more person. They actually took money. The Gu family doesn't lack those 100 copper coins. Why do they have to charge this? As soon as she finished speaking, Madame Zhou patted her back heavily. Shut up. I finally know why your husband didn't bring you to the county. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1069, Returning to the Prefectural City. Madame Wei cried out in pain. Then, she was stunned and hurriedly asked, why not? Because you're stupid and don't know your place. Madame Zhou sneered. If the Gu family doesn't accept the 100 copper coins, your father won't be at ease, your man won't be at ease, and your second brother won't be at ease either. When the time comes, he might as well not work in the Gu family. How come? It wasn't that serious. Madame Wei didn't care. Why not? The Gu family's carriage is to send Yunshu and Yuanji to school. Why should it carry two more people? Back then, in order to pick up Niu Dan, the carriage had to go to Dongyi Academy. The two schools are not close at all. Niu Dan and Yunshu are good friends, so they picked him up on the way. However, your sister-in-law will send some eggs and vegetables from time to time for the sake of friendship. Now, the two children in our family are going to school in the county city. In the end, you think it's just a matter of helping. Let me tell you, that's pushing your luck. What if everyone in the village follows? Whoever wants to go to the county city will just take the carriage? Then what will happen to the Gu family's carriage? Have you thought about the consequences? No wonder her son said to let Madame Wei stay at home and let her teach her how to conduct herself. This eldest daughter-in-law was too ignorant. She was so petty about 100 copper coins. If they hadn't been so friendly with the Gu family, would Yundong have considered letting Jean Kai in to be the shopkeeper? Madame Wei did not dare to speak after being glared at by her mother-in-law. When she lowered her eyes, she saw her sister-in-law, Madame Song, laughing at her misfortune. She was instantly furious. Madame Song turned around and went into the house. The next morning, the vaccination at the ancestral hall began again. As expected, another carriage came to the village from the county city. Unfortunately, Shao Qingyuan had entered the mountains early in the morning to pick herbs and did not come out until dark. Everyone thought that he had entered the mountains and would not return until tomorrow. But on the third day, the carriage came again. However, they found out that Shao Qingyuan had gone to a nearby village to purchase herbs. On the third night, these people simply found a farmer's house in a nearby village. They endured the dirty environment and hard bed frames and slept for the entire night. At dawn, they went to Yongfu village to stop Shao Qingyuan. Unexpectedly, Shao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong had returned to the prefectural city. They came back mainly for two things. One was to take back the handkerchief, and the other was to inoculate the villagers. Now that the matter was completed, they really could not delay any longer. After all, the prefecture magistrate didn't give him much time. He had already stayed in Yongfu village for a few days. This time, Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan did not return to the prefectural city alone. Yunshu and Yuanji also went with them. The two of them had just finished the vaccination a few days ago. There were still some acne marks on their bodies, but they were fine. However, these two little guys stayed obediently in the carriage this time and did not even look out. It was as if they were afraid that others would see their ugly appearance. Gu Yundong could not help but think of young Lady Yunka. It seemed that her younger siblings were very concerned about their image. At such a young age, they already knew the importance of their looks. However, Ah Zhu, oh, no, Shao Quan, continued to stay in Yongfu village. When the carriage arrived at the prefectural city, the sky was slightly dark and it looked like it was going to rain. Gu Yundong lifted the curtain and looked out. The pedestrians on the road were indeed in a hurry. Just as she was about to make the carriage speed up, her eyes paused. Suddenly, she saw a familiar figure standing in front of the notice board. Stop the carriage. Phew, Shao Qingyuan pulled the reins. As soon as the carriage stopped, Gu Yundong jumped out and walked to that person's side. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1070, Eldest Aunt Gu wants to move out. Eldest Aunt? Gu Yundong patted her shoulder. Gu Dafeng was stunned for a moment before retracting her gaze from the portrait on the notice wall. Yundong, you're back? Gu Dafeng said in surprise. Gu Yundong nodded and looked at the notice wall. There was still a portrait of her uncle there, but there was still no news of him. Gu Dafeng sighed slightly. We're reunited. Only your uncle is left. I don't know where he is now. Gu Yundong pursed his lips. Eldest aunt, don't worry. This portrait is not only in Shuanhe Prefecture, but also in Qingyuan Prefecture, Wanqing Prefecture, and even the capital. I've also asked someone to find out his whereabouts. Gu Dafeng nodded. I know. I just feel a little uncomfortable. It's been so long, and there's no news at all. Do you think he's all ready? She didn't dare to continue. If that was the case, Gu Dafeng hoped that she wouldn't hear from him for the rest of her life. Losing her daughter was already abnormally painful. If even her youngest brother lost his life in that escape, how bad would that be? He hadn't even married yet. Gu Yundong was actually prepared for this, but she was a little indignant. Eldest aunt, let's go back first. It's going to rain soon. By the way, Yuanji is also in the carriage. When Gu Dafeng heard this, she did look away. She rubbed her face hard and turned around with a smile. She hurriedly got into the carriage. The two children in the carriage seemed to be sleeping, but they were woken up by Gu Yundong stopped the carriage. They were still in a daze and were about to sit up. Gu Dafeng had not seen her son for a while. Seeing him like this, he immediately smiled. When Bian Yuanji saw his mother, he suddenly became energetic and pounced over. Mother. Gu Dafeng hugged him and sat down at the side. Are you still sleepy? Sleep a little longer. Mother will wake you up when we get home. Bian Yuanji blushed and nodded. Then, he leaned into her arms and closed his eyes. Yunshu pouted and turned to look at her sister. Gu Yundong, as expected, the child stuffed his head into Gu Yundong's arms without a word and closed his eyes to continue sleeping. Gu Yundong looked up at the sky. She really wasn't married yet, brother. Gu Dafeng originally wanted to carry Yunshu over, but when she saw this, she couldn't help but laugh. The carriage moved again. Gu Dafeng lowered her head to look at her son. When she looked up again, she lowered her voice. Yundong, I plan to move out after your father finishes the prefectural examination. Gu Yundong was stunned. Why are you in such a hurry? How am I in a hurry? Gu Dafeng shook his head. My husband can already stand up now. He can even take a few steps despite swaying. He's getting better and better. Of course, we should find another house to live in. It had been half a year, and Bien Han's legs had indeed recovered a lot. Although he was still in a wheelchair, he could stand up and take care of himself. Gu Yundong thought about it and did not ask him to stay. Alright, are you still looking for a house on Xingtao Street? Yes, I asked Shao Yuan's mother to keep an eye out for me. The two of them spoke as they arrived at the small courtyard. The Gu family was very happy to see them back, especially little Yunka. She rushed over to hug her brother, but when she ran up to him, she found the acne mark on his face. The young lady immediately stopped in her tracks, turned around, and fell into Gu Yundong's arms. The whole family was laughing. Only Gu Yunshu, who had been despised, was full of hatred. The next day, Shao Qingyuan went to the Million Gold Pavilion again. However, the rest of the Gu family began to nervously anticipate the prefectural examination that would be held in 3 days. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1071, Prefecture Examination Result released. The registration for the prefectural examination and the content were similar to the county examinations, but there had to be one more endorser. As for the examination subjects, they were divided into scripture analysis, essay, and strategy analysis. After the prefectural examination, it would be time for the prefecture examination. Gu Dajiang was no longer as apprehensive as before. Now that he was participating in the prefectural examination, he was no longer afraid. Junkin, who had also passed the county examination, came to the prefectural city more than 10 days ago. However, the prefectural city was very noisy now, and many people who came for vaccination stayed in inns. Junkin could not find a place to stay, so Qin Wenjing found the Gu family for him. He was Yunshu's classmate and usually took good care of Yunshu and Yuanji. He was also fated to take the same exam as Gu Dajiang. It was a piece of cake. The Gu family naturally would not reject it. Gu Dajiang arranged for Junkin to stay in the backyard of Gus. However, during the day, when Gus was noisy, he would bring books to the Gu family's small courtyard to discuss knowledge with Gu Dajiang. Now that their relationship had improved by leaps and bounds, they were like friends for years. On the day of the exam, Gu Yundong brought her younger siblings and mother to send Gu Dajiang to the examination hall. At 5:15, before dawn, the examination courtyard opened. Thousands of examinees were body-checked one by one. Gu Yundong handed the examination basket to Gu Dajiang. Now that the weather was getting warmer, he had finally broken free from the shackles of 10 single clothes. There was nothing in the examination basket. Other than the identity card, nothing else was allowed to be brought into the examination hall. The calligraphy, ink, paper, and inkstones were provided by the examination hall. Someone would also send food and water over. The first 2 subjects would take 1 day, but the third subject would take 2 days. However, the quilts for the night were also provided, so he was not worried. After Gu Dajiang went in, they turned around and left. Fortunately, Gu Dajiang wasn't by the toilet this time. The entire exam went unexpectedly smoothly. When the prefecture examination ended, Gu Dajiang walked out feeling refreshed. The entire family went forward. Gu Dafeng was the first to ask him, "How did you do? Did you answer all the questions?" "Everything's fine. There's no need to worry." Yes, other than the food provided in the examination hall being a little unpalatable, Gu Dajiang felt even more at ease in the prefecture examination than in the county examination. There were many people outside the examination hall. Gu Yundong was afraid of her younger siblings getting hurt from all the squeezing, so she quickly got them into the carriage and went back first. A few days later, the rankings would be released. The family first booked a nearby tea house and found a private room to sit in. Shao Qingyuan was also here. The million gold pavilion no longer needed him. The doctors inside had already become proficient. To everyone, the popularity of the cowpox vaccination method had already decreased. Everyone was more concerned about the prefectural examination and the rankings. Therefore, when the rankings were posted, there was a huge crowd in front of the notice board. It was much grander than the county examination back then. Gu Yundong was waiting upstairs, but Shui Rong and Tong Shuitao could not wait any longer and went down early to squeeze to the front. After an unknown period of time, the sound of, "I got it," exploded in everyone's ears. Gu Yundong could not help but become nervous. Her father was the county champion back then. She did not know if he could continue to be the champion. Just as she was thinking about it, a loud shout came from downstairs again. "Who is the champion?" Gu Yundong immediately pricked up her ears to listen. She was not the only one. Everyone else present was the same. On the other hand, Gu Dajiang looked indifferent. To him, obtaining a county championship was already unexpected. It would be a little difficult to obtain the prefecture championship. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1072, Take Down the Champion. Putting aside the fact that there were thousands of people participating in the prefecture examination, just the Tianhai Academy alone was already filled with talents. As expected, an unfamiliar name was quickly mentioned downstairs. Everyone felt a little regretful, but they still had a smile on their faces as they comforted Gu Dajiang. "It's fine, it's fine. This prefectural examination is so difficult. We saw people taking the exam that day. They were all in their 70s or 80s. It's obvious that it wasn't easy to pass. We can't be too greedy." Gu Dajiang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "You don't have to do this. I'm already mentally prepared. As far as I know, there are dozens of people participating in the prefectural examination from Tianhai Academy this time. All of them are people who are well-read. I'm an old man who has only been in the academy for less than a year. I'm already satisfied to be able to pass." How many years had it been since he had put down his books? The championship was not a carrot or cabbage. It was not that easy to get it. Just as he was thinking about it, two people ran up from downstairs, panting. Tong Shuitao was the first to enter. She turned around and realized that Shui Rong was still behind her. She immediately turned back and dragged him over. "I told you that your body is too weak. I told you not to go down, but you refused to listen. I could have come in and out myself, but I have to bring you along. It's troublesome." Shui Rong was speechless. "Yes, you're strong, so you're right." He couldn't say a word. Even his arm hurt from being pulled too hard by her. He didn't have the strength to refute. Tong Shuitao strode through the door with a happy smile on her face. "Congratulations, old master. You won second place in the class ranking exam." Second place? Everyone was stunned. Gu Dajiang was also shocked. He suspected that he had heard wrongly. "What did you say just now? Is it second or 20th? "Second." Shui Rong finally caught his breath and replied firmly, and young Master Yi, 8th place in the prefectural examination. Yi Junkin was not with them. He went back after the exam. It was his family's turn to be vaccinated in the county. Gu Dajiang laughed. All right. Gu Yunshu slammed the table. So close. Father was so close to taking down the champion. Gu Yundong was speechless. She did not teach him this, did she? But no matter what, after passing the prefectural examination, Gu Dajiang was now a proper preparation scholar. Although he was a little old, this was the first time Gu Dajiang had participated in the imperial examination. Furthermore, he was ranked at the top. His ranking was very gratifying. Father, we're happy today. Let's go to Jinxiu restaurant later and have a good meal to celebrate, okay? Alright, let's go to Jinxiu restaurant. The children were the happiest when they went to celebrate. Yunka had already started to order. Sister, I want to eat peach blossom meat, flower carving chicken, melon strips, squirrel fish, and tender tofu and balls. Gu Yundong pinched her pink cheeks. You're quite good at memorizing the names of dishes. I'm good. The little girl patted her small chest proudly. Yunshu and Yuanji followed suit and ordered food. Although big sister's dishes were also very delicious, it was also an enjoyment to occasionally go to a restaurant to eat their signature dishes. They had not eaten at Jinxiu restaurant in the prefecture capital. Therefore, before they left the tea house, the Gu family had already ordered all the dishes. When they went downstairs, the group of people looked at the bustling street and quickly walked towards the main road. The carriage was parked in a spacious place. They got into the carriage and quickly rushed to their destination. However, when they arrived at Jinxiu restaurant, just as everyone sat down in the private room, the shop assistant suddenly came up and said, Miss Gu, Tong Ping is here. Should we invite him up? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1073, Giving Birth. Gu Yundong was about to order when she heard this. Tong Ping is here? Yes, he is. Get him up here. Tong Shuitao quickly stood up. Miss, I'll go welcome my father. Seeing Gu Yundong nod, she immediately followed the shop assistant downstairs. Gu Yundong, on the other hand, found it strange. Tong Ping is here to deliver goods. Then why did he come to Jinxiu restaurant? Maybe to help carry things, Shao Qingyuan said. Because he had a good relationship with the Liu family, sometimes when the Gu family needed to deliver something and the Liu family needed too, the Liu family would ask them to carry it. It was not troublesome. As they were pondering, Tong Shuitao had already brought Tong Ping up. Gu Yundong looked up and saw the excitement on Tong Ping's face. She could not help but smile. Why are you here? You look happy. She rarely saw such an obvious change in Tong Ping's expression. Yes, there's a joyous occasion. Tong Ping seemed to have thought of something and started laughing. Oh. Tell me quickly. The smile on Tong Ping's face never faded. The night before last, my wife gave birth. Gu Yundong's eyes lit up. The child is born? That's right, Tong Ping's wife's due date was indeed within these few days. Previously, she had even prepared a red packet gift. It was just that it happened to coincide with her father's examination, so she had forgotten about it for a moment. The others also became happy. Tong Shuitao jumped up in shock. My mother gave birth? A boy or a girl? When did she give birth? Is my mother all right? All right. Your mother is quite good. She gave birth to a big fat boy and it went smoothly. This was all thanks to the Gu family's masters treating them well. Tong Ping still remembered that when Tong Shuitao was born, his wife had been in pain for an entire day and night and almost couldn't make it. Shuitao was also thin and small, as if she would die if her parents weren't careful. At that time, his wife was thin and weak. After she got pregnant, she had to work too. If she did not do well, she would have to kneel and kowtow to the master and be scolded. When she was pregnant with Shuetao, the young master even deliberately knocked into her stomach twice, scaring the Tong family so much that they thought that they would lose the child. But what could they do? Even if the young master wanted to abort the child in her stomach, they had no right to object. However, things were completely different in the Gu family. They ate and lived well. When their wives were pregnant, they were healthy and did not suffer from any illness. With money in their hands, they could also hire a doctor and a midwife. The food they ate was not bad either. Miss even told his wife to rest more, especially when the pregnancy was unstable in the first 3 months. She did not let her work at all. In the end, even if it was stable, she would only let his wife do some light work. These days, there were only 2 young masters in the family. They actually did not have much to do. The 2 young masters were even more amiable. They ran and jumped after leaving the Gu family. At home, they only read and wrote. His wife especially liked to listen to the young masters read in the room. Listening to their tender voices, she felt exceptionally comfortable and stable. Tong Ping felt that when this kid grew up in the future, he would definitely be like his second brother, Tong'an, who could read and study especially quickly. Actually, her doctor said that it was still a little dangerous for his wife to give birth at her age. However, they did not expect it to be even smoother than Shuetao's. She came out in 2 hours. Even the midwife said that it was a miracle. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1074, Bestowing a Name. Tong Ping's emotions surged, and he couldn't help but say, the child has just been born and doesn't even have a name. I just want to ask Old Master to give the child a name. I wonder if it's possible. Gu Dajiang was very happy. You want me to name him? Of course. Back then, I was the one who named Yundong and the others. Thank you, Master. Gu Dajiang lowered her eyes and fell into deep thought. He tapped his fingers on the table. The elder sister's name is Shuetao, and the younger brother's name can be Yuzhu. One is water, and the other is wood. They grow together. Bamboo also represents tenacious life force, and it also means blessings for peace and prosperity. I hope this child is safe and happy. Brother and sister are united, and the benefits will cut through gold. Yin Shu was eager to give it a try. In fact, he had already thought of many names in his heart. It was a good time to say them now. When the time came, he would let Tong Ping choose one. Unexpectedly, just as he opened his mouth, before he could say the first name, Tong Ping suddenly knelt down and kowtowed heavily. Thank you for the name, Old Master. Gu Dajiang was shocked and quickly got him to stand up. All right. Today is a happy day. Don't kneel here and there. I like to give names. Unfortunately, Ah Mao and the others didn't look for him when they changed their names. This made Gu Dajiang regret it for a long time. Gu Yundong immediately called out to him, all right, you're here. Let's eat together. This is a joyous occasion. We have to celebrate. Tong Shuetao was so happy just now that tears flowed out. At this moment, she hurriedly wiped her sleeves. That's right, father. Today is a double blessing. Not only did mother give birth to a younger brother, but master also passed the prefecture examination and got second place. Tong Ping suddenly came back to his senses. Yes. Today is the day of the prefectural examination's result release. Before I came to the prefectural city, the village chief asked me to bring the news back after reading it. I went over just now, but the streets there were too congested and I couldn't squeeze in. I wanted to go around this side, but I didn't expect to see Master and Miss enter the Jinxia restaurant just as I came over. I hurriedly ran over. In the end, when young Miss asked him what happy news he had, he immediately thought of his wife giving birth to a child and forgot what he wanted to say. Unexpectedly, Old Master actually got second place. This was really a joyous matter. Not only that, but young Master Shao had also presented the Emperor with the cowpox vaccination method. Everyone in Yongfu village treated him as a hero. 3 blessings. The Gu family was very happy. They called the waiter over to order more food. Everyone ate to their heart's content before leaving Jinxiu restaurant happily. After leaving the door, Gu Yundong said to Tong Shuitao, "Your mother has given birth to a baby. Go back and wait on her before coming back." Tong Shuitao was stunned for a moment before immediately shaking her head. "No, Miss Maidservant. I have to follow Miss to protect Mississippi. My mother has my grandmother to take care of her. It's fine. All right, I'm just asking you to go back for a month. Can't I do anything without you? Don't you want to see your new brother? Go back with your father. Your grandmother is too old to take care of the family and your mother. She can't handle it." Tong Shuitao thought about it and agreed. Her mother would definitely not be able to work right after the childbirth. Her grandmother had to take care of her mother, and the Gu family's house and backyard had to be cleaned up. In addition, the 2 young masters had to return to Yongfu village in a few days. At that time, her grandmother would indeed be too busy alone. She was strong. One person could match 2 people. It was still very useful. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1075. In going out therefore, Tong Shuitao hesitated for a moment before agreeing. After all, she could not wait to see her newborn brother. Tong Shuitao quickly went back to pack a few sets of clothes, then left with Tong Ping. The Gu family had all returned home. When the results of the prefectural examination were out, the neighbors also knew. On the way back, Gu Yundong specially bought some sweets and snacks for everyone to enjoy. As soon as they reached home, someone came to their door. The people living here were all scholars, including elementary scholars and high scholars. Therefore, although Gu Dajiang had won second place in the prefectural examination, everyone was not very surprised. They came to congratulate him and returned. The candy in Gu Dajiang's hand was quickly distributed. The family living next door to the small courtyard was the last to leave. When she left, she pulled Gu Dafeng and said, "Previously, a girl surnamed Fan came over and said that there's already some progress in the matter you asked her to pay attention to. She asked you to go over tomorrow to take a look." Gu Dafeng's eyes lit up. She quickly thanked the neighbor and sent her out. Gu Dajiang asked curiously, "Who is Sister Fan?" "It's Shao Yuan's mother." Gu Dajiang was enlightened. So it's Shao Yuan's mother. She had an impression of this. The potted plants in the courtyard were all bought from her. "What did you ask her to pay attention to?" "It's about finding a house." "Didn't I tell you before?" "Well, move out after you pass the prefectural examination." Gu Dajiang was stunned. "You did, but I just passed the prefectural examination." "You're too fast." Gu Dafeng waved her hand. "What's so fast about it? I've been searching for a month before there's finally a suitable one. I'll go take a look tomorrow. If it's possible, I'll rent it." "Actually, don't stop me. You know my personality. Besides, I've already spoken to you." Gu Dajiang couldn't help but sigh and stop persuading her. Indeed, there was no reason to stop her from leaving. His brother-in-law Bian Han's legs had already recovered, and their wooden carvings were selling well. Previously, Bian Han had listened to Yundong's suggestion and often carved complete sets of works. There were indeed many people who were unwilling to just buy one item. When they saw a complete set, they insisted on buying it together. Gu Dafeng already had a lot of money in her hands. Now, the couple also planned to buy some good wood and carve more exquisite things. They could sell them in the shop later. When they had enough money, they would consider renting a shop. That way, they would not have to go to the market every day. It had rained several times in the prefectural city a few days ago, and it would last for 2 to 3 days. It was not convenient for Gu Dafeng to set up a stall in such weather. It was better to have her own shop. Seeing that her father had no objections, Gu Yundong said, "Eldest aunt, I'll go with you tomorrow. You're free tomorrow? It's okay. Gu Dafeng nodded. Coincidentally, I heard that the local tyrants at Xingtao Street are afraid of you. With you around, I can avoid a lot of trouble. The children immediately raised their hands. We're going too. Don't follow me. It's not like we need so many people for a gang fight. You can go after we rent the house. Gu Dafeng rejected them mercilessly. The children pouted in disappointment. They turned around angrily and ran into the house, muttering something. Shao Qingyuan, who had been silent all this while, narrowed his eyes slightly. He clenched his fists and suddenly said to Gu Yundong, "I'm going out for a while. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1076, Familiar Box, Where are you going? Gu Yundong looked at the sky. It was already so late. He could not possibly go to the Million Gold Pavilion. Shao Qingyuan had already reached the door. He waved his hand. "I'll be back in a while." When Gu Yundong wanted to ask again, he had already disappeared behind the door. He moved very quickly and disappeared in an instant. Gu Yundong was confused. After a while, she turned around and returned to the courtyard. Then, she saw Gu Dafeng packing up, especially the wooden carvings scattered in the courtyard. She had gathered them one by one. Gu Yundong walked over to help tidy up the house. "Eldest aunt, you don't have to be in such a hurry. You haven't seen the house yet. What if you're not satisfied?" "If I'm not satisfied, so be it. It doesn't matter. I'll have to clean it up sooner or later anyway." "Hey, pass that to me." Gu Yundong followed the direction of her finger and handed over a wooden sculpture. Gu Dafeng took it and looked up at her. "Where did Qingyuan go?" "I don't know. It looks like it's an emergency." Gu Dafeng nodded. "That must be very urgent and important. Qingyuan is a good child and knows his limits. You don't have to worry too much. Eldest aunt seems to have a very high opinion of him." "That's true. He may look cold on the outside, but his heart is warm. Although he doesn't know how to say good things, the things he does make people feel warm in their hearts. Your uncle's legs have been inconvenient these days. When Qingyuan sees him, he will help. Even if he goes to the toilet, he will carry him. Tell me, who would be willing to do this, especially a young man who is not related to us? Isn't it because he dotes on you?" As she spoke, she thought of Bien Mulan's husband. If it was him, he definitely wouldn't do such a thing. Her niece was blessed and would lead a good life in the future. Gu Yundong pursed her lips and smiled. Shao Qingyuan was indeed not bad, but he did not know how to put in a good word. She did not agree. This fellow was smart. She and Gu Dafeng chatted as they packed. She originally thought that Shao Qingyuan would return soon after leaving. Unexpectedly, he only appeared at the entrance of the small courtyard in a hurry when the sun set. Besides him, there was also Shao Wen, the former Ah Mao. Shao Wen was carrying 2 large boxes of things. They looked like tea leaves and wine. Moreover, from the packaging outside, they were the most expensive ones in the prefecture capital. Shao Qingyuan was holding a familiar box. Gu Yundong's eyelids twitched. A familiar feeling welled up in his heart. She was about to go forward and ask him where he had gone when she saw Shao Qingyuan wink at her before striding into the central room. Gu Dajiang was talking to the 3 children. They were very curious about the matter in the examination shed and were asking about the difference between the county and prefectural examinations. Just as they were listening with relish, they saw Shao Qingyuan enter. He said to Gu Dajiang, "Uncle Gu, I have something to tell you." Seeing his solemn expression, Gu Dajiang nodded and said to the 3 children, "All right, go out first. We'll talk later." After the little ones left, Gu Dajiang brought Shao Qingyuan to the study. Gu Yundong stood in the courtyard, his heart suddenly racing. Gu Dafeng had walked to her side and stood still. He asked softly, "Why is Qingyuan looking for your father? He looks very serious." "I'm not sure either." Although she said that, she could not help but clench her fists. Just as she finished speaking, a loud bang suddenly came from inside. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1077, Gu Dajiang, shut up with a bang. It sounded like a stool was suddenly knocked to the ground. Everyone in the courtyard turned around in shock. Gu Yundong was about to walk in when the door of the study was suddenly opened. Shao Qingyuan and Shao Quan were pushed out. Gu Dajiang's face flushed red as he pointed at him with a trembling finger. Just get the hell out of here right now. Shao Qingyuan didn't move, and Gu Dajiang was instantly angry. Although he was a scholar, he was also a farmer. He was so angry that he cursed on the spot. I told you to leave, did you hear that? I was happy when I just passed the prefectural examination, but you came over immediately to pour cold water on me, right? Wedding? Why don't you take a look at how old Yundong is? Can't wait to get the cabbage? Let me tell you, no way. Wait for another 2 years, no, 3 years, Gu Dajiang, shut up. Another voice suddenly sounded in the courtyard. Gu Dajiang instantly stopped talking and looked up at the exasperated Gu Dafeng. Gu Dafeng rolled up her sleeves and strode over. She looked at Shao Qingyuan, who was standing at the door without saying a word but looked a little aggrieved and stubborn. She immediately said gently, Qingyuan, go and rest for a while. I'll talk to him. Don't worry. Then, she turned around and looked at Gu Dajiang with a livid expression. She pushed Gu Dajiang into the room and closed the door with a bang. Immediately after, Gu Dafeng's resentful voice sounded. Enough. Is there a father like you? Yundong and Qingyuan were engaged a long time ago. Didn't you agree to? Now that you're married, you're still making things difficult for her. Why? Are you afraid that your daughter's life will be too good in the future? No. Sister, Yundong is still young. Gu Dajiang wasn't that confident when facing his sister. What do you mean young? She's already an adult. She's a big girl. Gu Dafeng snorted. If you still want to keep her for 2 to 3 years, you might as well keep her until she's in her 70s or 80s. Gu Dafeng glared at him again, then sighed and sat beside him. She said earnestly, I know you dote on Yundong and can't bear to part with her, but you can't keep her forever. It's rare for Yundong and Qingyuan to have a good relationship. As she spoke, she suddenly suppressed her voice and said softly, moreover, you have to think about it. Qingyuan is different from before. In the past, he had no parents and lived in a dilapidated house. He couldn't even eat alone. In addition, his reputation in the village was not good, so he didn't get married for a long time. But now, he has been to the capital, met the emperor, treated the prince's illness, and has good skills. He's tall and handsome, and has several shops. Do you know how many people are watching him now? When I was at the market last time, I heard many people talking about him. Even many wealthy families in the city liked him and wanted him to be their son-in-law. It's rare that he's unmoved and only wants to be with Yundong. Let me tell you, if you stop him again, he might be intercepted. Gu Dajiang frowned and sneered. So be it. Our Yundong is so outstanding. Should I be afraid that she won't be able to find a good husband? Gu Dafeng was so angry that she slapped him on the back. But Yundong likes Qingyuan. So what if you find a good husband? Do you still want to be that muddle-headed worm that breaks up the love birds and make them both unhappy? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1078, showing her thumbs. Gu Dajiang immediately fell silent. The people outside the door gradually could not hear their voices and could only look at each other. Prefectural city examination, but I didn't say that I was in such a hurry. The rankings have just been released today. No wonder her father was so angry. Shao Qingyuan pursed his lips and paused for a moment before saying, Eldest and is looking for a house tomorrow. If it's suitable, she'll probably move over on the same day. He did not finish his sentence, but Gu Yundong completely understood. She stared at him with wide eyes. After a moment, she gave him a thumbs up. Good for you. Is still in the small courtyard? Shao Qingyuan laughed. Don't tell anyone. Gu Yundong rolled her eyes at him. I'm not stupid. As she spoke, the door of the study was opened again. Gu Dajiang's expression was still very ugly, but his tone was much better. He said to Shao Qingyuan, who was at the door, come in. Shao Qingyuan immediately took the box and entered the study again. Gu Yundong was scratching her head. Why did her father only call him in? Wasn't this about her marriage? Should she, the person involved, go in? It was unknown what was said inside, but after a long time, Auntie Niu came over for the third time to say that it was time for dinner. Only then did the three of them come out of the study. Gu Yundong's sharp eyes saw that the box in Shao Qingyuan's hand was gone, but Gu Dajiang did not ask him to stay and let him go back to eat. In front of Gu Dajiang, Shao Qingyuan couldn't say much to Gu Yundong. He gestured at her and left the small courtyard with Shao Wen. Gu Dajiang placed his hands behind his back and called out to the people in the courtyard, all right, let's eat first. Gu Yundong could only suppress her doubts and follow him to the reception pavilion. On the other hand, Gu Dafeng was a step behind. He walked to her side and whispered, don't worry. Your father won't dare to hit Qingyuan in front of me, and he won't break you up. Gu Yundong was speechless. She was not worried about this at all. After entering the reception pavilion, probably because Gu Dajiang didn't look too good, everyone was very quiet. No one said a word and quickly dispersed after eating. Gu Yundong also returned to her room. However, not long after she entered, there was a knock on the door. Gu Dajiang's voice came from the door. Yundong, may I come in? Father? Gu Yundong hurriedly opened the door and let Gu Dajiang in. Gu Dajiang held the box that Shao Qingyuan had given him. He walked to the table and sat down. Then, he looked at Gu Yundong and said, Shao Qingyuan sent this today. Gu Yundong glanced at her father, paused, and reached out to open the box. As expected, it contained all of Shao Qingyuan's assets. Betrothal gifts, Gu Dajiang said. He's offered the 2 shops and the house in Yongfu village. He said that he had already given you the contract for the manor outside the city, right? Gu Yundong nodded. Looking at the box in front of her, she felt her hands become extremely heavy and hot. Gu Dajiado part with you. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know if report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1079, Dowry. As Gu Dajiang spoke, his mood sank slightly. You're my first child. Back then, when your mother gave birth to you, it was difficult for her to give birth. The doctor said that she would never be able to give birth again. At that time, your mother and I thought that you were our only daughter. We wished we could give you everything. Among the 3 children, Gu Dajiang had always had the deepest feelings for Gu Yundong. I still remember when you were just born. You were a little ball. I didn't expect you to get married in the blink of an eye. I felt like I was in a dream. It's unreal. I'm not capable. I didn't give you a good life when I was in the old Gu family. Now in Yongfu village, you're the one who let the Gu family live a good life. Now that I'm already a preparation scholar, I'll become an elementary scholar in August. I can more or less protect you. I just thought that when I get the titles, my status will be different. I can still shelter you from the wind and rain for a year or 2. I didn't expect that kid to be so impatient. Gu Dajiang couldn't help but lower his head and wipe the corners of his eyes. Gu Yundong's heart ached at his words. She felt both suffocated and warm. She knew that her father had been trying very hard to support this family, so he had worked very hard. He had won the championship in the county examination and 2nd place in the prefectural examination. He wanted to obtain a title as soon as possible and shield her from the wind and rain. Gu Yundong had always known that her father wrote letters, copied books, and drew drawings to earn money. He also worked hard to promote canned candy in the academy. He was silently supporting his daughter in his own way. Although there were people in the academy who criticized him for being a greedy scholar, Dajiang didn't care. He only cared that as a father, he still needed his daughter to work so hard to support him in his studies. He wanted to share some of the burden, even if it was insignificant. He wanted to help Yundong more, but Shao Qingyuan cut him off. This was what Dajiang disliked about him. Yundong slowly took a deep breath and suppressed the tears in her eyes. She smiled and said, "Father, even if brother Shao and I get married, you can continue to shelter me from the wind and rain. I'm still your daughter. If outsiders bully me, I'll tell them that my father is Dajiang. He's now an elementary scholar, a high scholar in 3 years, and an honorable scholar in the future." Dajiang was amused by her. "You sure have confidence in me?" "Of course." Dajiang nodded at her before continuing, "I'll get someone to calculate the date of your wedding tomorrow. We definitely have to choose a good day. As for your dowry, I can't take out anything else. The few shops and the workshop in the village are your dowry. As for the house in Yongfu village, the small courtyard now, and the few hundred acres of orchard. You directly registered it under my name back then. Consider that I've bought them from you. I'll pay you when I have money in the future." Yundong frowned. "Father, what are you saying? How can I? You don't understand. Women only have confidence when they have dowry." Dajiang bluffed. "It's settled then. As a father, I'm not that shameless to take my daughter's things for myself." Yundong stood up. "How can you call this taking things for yourself? You raised me up. Isn't it my duty to be filial to you? Even so, you don't have to do so much for me. If I take it from me, I'll feel guilty. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1080. Did the Gu family escape here? Yundong frowned deeply. For the first time, she realized that she could not win against her father. However, since she had put these things under Dajiang's name back then, they were the Gu family's house. She had no objections to the shop and workshop being her dowry, but the house, what should I do? How troublesome. Dajiang made the final decision and left the box of betrothal gifts from Shao Qingyuan. Yundong, as expected, once they were about to get married, this matter instantly became complicated. The first thing was the distribution of assets. If this was in any other family, it would probably be good enough if the father could give his daughter a dowry of a few hundred taels of silver. However, when it came to her father, he did not want anything. He would give her the money for the house where he was currently staying in the future. She could understand her father's thoughts, but she could not bring everything into the Shao family as a dowry. This matter had to be discussed again. Not many people in the Gu family slept well that night. However, the next day, Dafeng still woke up early. Yundong had agreed to accompany her to look at the house. Not many people went. Besides her and Dafeng, there were also Bian Han and Shui Rong. The others, especially the 3 brats, stayed at home obediently. Yundong had been to Xingtao Street several times, so she was already familiar with the place. When she knocked on Shao Yuan's door, Madame Fan and Shao Yuan happened to be going out to set up a stall. When she saw Dafeng, Madame Fan immediately put down the card in her hand and planned not to go out. "You're here to look at the house, right? I'll bring you there now." Dafeng quickly stopped her. No need. Just tell us where the owner is. It's a rare good day today. Don't delay your business. We'll go over ourselves." Yundong also said, "That's right. Mrs. Fan, you should be busy. We're all adults now. We can find the place by ourselves." "How can that be? We agreed that I would bring you there. How can I leave you behind?" Just as she finished speaking, a head suddenly popped in from outside. When she saw the person inside, she immediately exclaimed, "Boss? Why are you here?" Yundong turned around. "Wasn't this Su Qing? You're off today?" "Yes, it's my turn to rest." I heard some movements here, so I came over to take a look. The Su family lived next door, which was very close. Shao Yuan was on good terms with her, so she immediately explained everything in detail. Su Qing nodded in understanding. I know where the owner is. Mrs. Fan, go ahead. I'll bring the boss and the rest over. You do? Su Qing nodded with certainty. Madame Fan was relieved. Only then did she bring Shao Yuan out of the courtyard and go to the market to set up a stall. Su Qing went home and informed Mother Su. Mother Su found it strange. Boss Gus and is looking for a house? Why is she here? Could it be that her aunt's family isn't well off? One had to know that the rent of the houses here was cheap, but this place was not very peaceful. Just the local tyrant alone was a headache. Su Qing said, I heard that after the boss aunt fled to the Shuana Prefecture 2 years ago, she was lost. She just reunited with the boss last year. Her family should be in trouble. Escape? Mother Su was surprised. Her aunt escaped from the Yundong Prefecture? That's right. Didn't I tell you? The boss also fled here. That's why I especially admire her. With that, Su Qing hurriedly ran out of the door. Mother Su muttered, she's indeed admirable. She just escaped from the famine 2 years ago. Now, there's actually such a big... Wait, she escaped from the famine? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible.